Chapter 462. The battlefield was extremely messy. The deep ravines were shocking. The two emperor bodies were so dazzling. Two great monarchs of a generation, as well as peak existences, had actually fallen in an instant. The Tao was merciless. The battle between cultivators was even more so. Kai Long stood proudly, waiting for Yi Qinghan's arrival, but the closer they got, the more he felt something was wrong, the more he realized that the token would split into two and then merge back into one. Xiao Da Yi Qinghan landed in front of Kai Long. Emperor Yi stood on Yi Qinghan's shoulder with a zither, his long skirt fluttering behind him, shocking him. You. Kai Long kept retreating, wanting to withdraw and leave. Xiao Da Yi Qinghan moved the stars. His figure was everywhere, as if there were thousands of clones blocking Kai Long's path. Turn into Tao on your own and have a chance to live, or I'll make you disappear. Thousands of Yi Qinghan spoke at the same time, making it hard for Kai Long to tell which was the real one. Kai Long was unwilling. As long as one more was eliminated, he could enter the 5th floor. You have 3 breaths of time to choose. Yi Qinghan summoned Berserk. The blade whistled, chilling everyone's heart. Die. Kai Long slashed with the black dragon sword, attacking Emperor Yi. Wang. Ren Huangyi plucked the 9 guqin strings, and the guqin music smashed into Kai Long's sea of consciousness, as if it was crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. It directly exploded, and Kai Long's soul was almost instantly blasted into smithereens. He never thought that Ren Huangye's attack would be so brutal, and he immediately fell backwards with a miserable cry. Xiao. Yi Qinghan moved, slashing above the black dragon sword and cutting off Kai Long's head, then punching through the head and crushing the rest of his soul. Kai Long died with his eyes wide open, his face full of fear. Even in death, he didn't think that he would die at the hands of a harmless girl like Emperor Yi. He didn't even have time to resist. Yi Qinghan put away the black dragon sword and slashed out hundreds of times, directly taking out all of the bones in Kai Long Demon Emperor's body. These were dragon bones, the best material for refining berserk. At this moment, the Almighties in the depths of the 9 underworlds confirmed Ren Huangye's identity after Ren Huangyi attacked once. At this moment, no one treated Ren Huangyi as a little girl who was being protected, especially the Almighties on the 9th floor. The pupils of the Emperor of Feathers shrank as he said in surprise, "This is the Zither Immortal Crimson Demon Physique. What a powerful soul attack. Who would be able to block it without being on guard against her?" The mighty figures of the 9th level were all astonished. They felt that Emperor Yi was stronger than Yi Qinghan. The 9th level was definitely not the end they wanted. The 5th level was a boundless area, filled with a sea of flowers, green vines, man-eating flowers, and man-eating green vines. However, there were many precious treasures and spirit herbs, and there were quite a few monarch-grade divine herbs. The plants here were all growth type. Some terrifying plants could grow to the monarch grade, or even beyond that. As long as one was entangled by them, even mighty figures would be devoured. An unknown, terrifying beast was galloping through the mountain range, killing ferocious beasts continuously. It was extremely powerful, definitely not weaker than an emperor-level expert. However, when it approached a large forest of green vines, the green vines suddenly attacked. Thousands of roots wrapped around the beast, tightly entangling it. The roots were comparable to emperor-level weapons, effortlessly piercing through the beast's rock-like skin. Its blood was instantly sucked dry, leaving behind a dried corpse that fell to the ground. In just a blink of an eye, the monarch-grade beast was dead. These green vines were everywhere, and the experts of the 9 underworlds called them dragon-twining vines. There was another type of vine that was even more terrifying than dragon-twining vines, called start-wining vines. It could entangle the heavens, and when it grew to its peak state, it could easily entangle a star and forcefully crush it. Even adult divine dragons would be strangled to death if they were entangled. However, the energy consumed by these plants was immeasurable. The entire 5th level might not be able to keep the start-wining vines alive, and in the end, they would all starve to death. The things these plants ate were either monarch-grade flesh or supreme treasures that were saint-grade or above. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi suddenly appeared in a sea of flowers, and a voice came from their sea of consciousness. Find a mature blue sky white lotus and a monarch-grade godly medicine. Consider them as tickets to the 6th level. Remember, don't underestimate the plants here. Even an ordinary flower can kill a monarch. Yi Qinghan looked at the beautiful sea of flowers and endless green mountains and rivers, and he felt like he was in a fairyland. Countless flowers flew and butterflies danced, red and blue, green and green, and the rivers were clear. It was as if a heavenly dragon had entangled the entire 6th level, and he didn't know where it began or ended. Monarch-grade godly medicines were not easy to find, and even if you did find one, you might not be able to defeat it. Take Divine Lotus Empress for example. She had cultivated for 1,000,000 years, and as soon as she was born, she could shake the supreme beings. The blue sky white lotus that the elder spoke of should also be a monarch-grade godly medicine. Even if it hadn't proven its Tao, its concealment methods must be very powerful. Master, this place is so beautiful. Emperor Yi smiled faintly and directly rode on Yi Qinghan's neck. He turned his head and looked around as if he wanted to imprint the entire world in his mind. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and felt that his hair was about to explode. This place was definitely very dangerous. He wasn't like Emperor Yi, who was a visual animal. Be careful, the plants here don't seem to move, but once they move, they will definitely cause the mountains to collapse and the earth to crack. Yi Qinghan said in a serious voice. I have a way. Emperor Yi sat up straight and placed the Renhuang Guqin directly on Yi Qinghan's head. He gently played the music that sounded like the sounds of nature. There was no killing intent, only joy. The music was pleasant to the ears, and it was as if the heavens and earth were about to dance to it. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Countless white butterflies danced, and pollen danced in the air, filling the sky. The music of the Guqin spread across the sky and traveled through the ages. It actually spread through the 18 levels of the 9 underworlds through the eye of 9 underworlds, causing the bodies of the Xiong lords to tremble and become immersed in the music. Boom. The entire 5th level moved. Green vines wrapped around the sky, and man-eating flowers bloomed. No ferocious plants could hide. Yi Qinghan smiled slightly. As long as they avoided these green vines and man-eating flowers, it would be fine. Master, don't worry. This won't take any effort. It's just an ordinary Guqin song called the Story of Heavenly Joy. It can make plants and animals happy from the bottom of their hearts, and make them dance to the music. Emperor Yi whispered. His fingers plucked the strings, and the music was crisp and clear. Not to mention these plants. Even Yi Qinghan felt very relaxed and happy, and wanted to dance along. The two of them quickly entered the depths, and their divine senses expanded outwards to search for the emperor-level divine medicine, and the blue sky white lotus. Just as the two of them entered the depths, in the center of the 5th level, a small golden vine broke free from the shackles of the earth and flew towards Yi Qinghan and Yi Qinghan. The leaves of the vine were covered with golden stars, as if they were carved by stars, vivid and lifelike. Star-twining vine. Through the eye of 9 nether, the powerful beings discovered that the divine vine was becoming restless. Suddenly, a few figures rushed out from the city where the ghosts of the 5th level gathered. The stars moved and they rushed towards Yi Qinghan, wanting to snatch the divine item. The Feather Emperor was also tempted. He formed a seal with both hands, and an image appeared in front of him. It was a very young and handsome youth. He didn't look like a ghost at all, and he looked even more like a human than a human. He was as handsome as jade and had a graceful bearing. Master. The youth bowed and greeted. Chaoyang, where are you? The Feather Emperor asked in a deep voice. Master, I am training in the 6th level of the Azure region. Why are you looking for me? Chaoyang asked in surprise. Go to the 5th level and find the star-twining vine immediately. Bring it back to me. The Feather Emperor said hurriedly. The Feather Emperor was an existence that surpassed the Great Emperor. No one knew his real name anymore. They only knew that his title was the Feather Emperor back in the day. Those that could obtain this title were almost all existences that surpassed the Great Emperor realm. There were 3 types of Great Emperors. Ordinary Great Emperors, titled Great Emperors, and Battle Emperors. Great Emperors like Gui Nu could only be called Great Emperors. Those like the Feather Emperor were called titled Great Emperors. There were also top-notch existences, which were the Battle Emperors. Above the Great Emperors were the Venerable Sovereigns, followed by the God Priests. The god priests were unreachable existences. There were also strong and weak god priests. Even a lesser god priest could suppress the venerable sovereigns with divine techniques. Great emperors would always be great emperors. However, god priests had godheads. Their vitality and souls were stored in them. They were almost unkillable. Great emperors could live for 30 to 50,000 years, but god priests could live for hundreds of thousands of years. A middle god priest could live for 1,000,000 years. As for the legendary upper god priests, they had never appeared in the middle realm. There was no such thing in the Nine Serenities underworld. Even the Nine Serenities Lord was only a middle god priest. There were also two types of godhoods. One was to kill a god priest, seize the godhood, and refine it. This type of god priest was not as powerful as the other type of godhood, which was to use the power of faith to refine one's own godhood. There were many different types of godhood, such as wind, fire, thunder, lightning, metal, wood, water, law, elements, chaos, and so on. Every type of godhood had a strict hierarchy such as lesser, middle, upper, main, and even the legendary paramount godhood. The paramount godhood was immortality. However, even the superior godhood and the main godhood were legendary existences. They had only been heard of, but no one had ever seen them. The Feather Emperor was a venerable emperor. He had surpassed the Great Emperor and became a venerable emperor. However, he was not satisfied. He wanted to surpass the venerable emperor and become a god. However, it was not easy to become a god priest. He either had to kill a god priest to seize the godhead, or use the power of faith to refine the godhead. However, neither of these methods worked, so he had to use the third method. That was to find divine beasts and spiritual plants as spiritual slaves, and let them evolve into god priests. Then he would kill the spiritual plants or divine beasts and seize the godhead. However, such creatures were not easy to find. The golden crow was one such divine beast, and so was the star-twining vine. It was unique in the world. In fact, it was not only the first 9 levels that were tempted. Even the top existences in the depths were tempted, including the lower god priests. Once they had the star-twining vine, it was equivalent to having their combat strength doubled. Many people found it difficult to improve their cultivation when they cultivated to the god priest level. They could only find other ways to break through. Nurturing divine beasts or spiritual plants was the best way. Go, even if you have to kill Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. You have to seize the star-twining vine for me. As long as you help me do this, I will bestow you with a lower god's divine core. An old man on the 10th level looked down at a venerable emperor kneeling on the ground, and said in a deep voice, "Thank you, my god." The venerable emperor expert bowed and retreated, heading straight for the 5th level. Chapter 463. At the same time, it wasn't just the 10 factions that were rushing toward the 5th level. They had all sent their most elite existences. However, Yi Qinghan didn't know how many people were willing to pay any price in order to obtain the star-twisting vine, even if it meant offending the gods. Emperor Ye's divine chant was vast and mighty, attracting the divine herbs to fly into the sky and burrow into the ground at extreme speeds. Their understanding of the great Tao of space had reached the pinnacle, far surpassing that of the great emperors. No one could catch them. The star-twisting vine had just been born, and was only the size of a palm. Its roots hadn't even grown out, but it was too special. It was so special that the experts of the 9 underworlds could recognize its origins at a glance. Whoosh, the star-twisting vine was as fast as lightning. It streaked across the depths of the galaxy and directly slashed Yi Qinghan's neck, leaving a ghastly wound. Yi Qinghan's pupils shrank. He flashed extremely quickly and flew back over 1,000 meters. With a flip of his hand, a dagger appeared in his hand. It was the dagger that even the mirror of reincarnation couldn't destroy. Emperor Ye's music stopped abruptly. He looked at the star-twisting vine in front of him in astonishment. He couldn't recognize what it was. Yi Qinghan was even more shocked. In this world, if he dared claim to be the second fastest under the great emperors, no one would dare claim to be the first. In terms of physical defense, he was absolutely unparalleled in the world. But today, he had almost died to the roots of a golden vine in front of him. His 5-elemental Tao body couldn't even block a single root. What is this? Yi Qinghan murmured. Emperor Yi shook his head in confusion. He knew nothing about this thing. The star-twisting vine seemed to have its own soul. It kept approaching Yi Qinghan. Wherever it passed, all essence was absorbed by it. It didn't need any time at all. A few vines wrapped around the air and pierced through the shackles. They emitted a golden light like an octopus. The vines could automatically extend their length, but now it could only extend 3 to 5 meters. It was incomparably excited after devouring a bit of Yi Qinghan's essence blood. It was even more unwilling to give up on the food in front of it. Leave it. It's a star-twisting vine. Although it's very weak, it's definitely not something a great emperor can contend with. It can't be killed. The old man suddenly appeared and shouted at Yi Qinghan from afar. Can this thing recognize an owner? Yi Qinghan did not dare to turn around. He could only turn his back to the old man and ask in a low voice. It's possible, but only emperors and above can raise it. Otherwise, it'll kill its owner. It's a bottomless pit that can't be fed. The old man said hurriedly. Yi Qinghan's eyes flickered. He was very interested in this little thing. There was nothing in this world that couldn't be fed. The origin of wood is mine to use. Now. Yi Qinghan flipped his hand, and dense wood elements filled the surroundings, causing all the plants to go crazy with joy. Their green vines extended for 10,000 meters, and they rushed towards Yi Qinghan. Living soil appear. Divine medicine. Divine medicine. Yi Qinghan waved his hand, and continuously drew out a large number of treasures from his yin and yang ring. Although he could not return, the yin and yang ring of his physical body could still be used. Others might not be able to feed it, but Yi Qinghan wanted to feed it so that it could be used by him. Come here, these are all yours. Yi Qinghan extended his hand and stared at the star-twisting vine. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The star-twisting vine was extremely clever. After coming within 5 meters, it continuously extended its vines and swept up the divine pills, the living soil, and the divine medicine. It directly swallowed them. Then it captured the living soil and imprisoned it in its roots. It was only a small amount, but it instantly doubled in size. The origin of wood was also absorbed by it. It was still a small amount, but it was still not full. The star-twisting vine was instantly enraged. Countless vines wrapped around Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi, wanting to swallow them whole. The vines were extremely fast. Although they looked soft, they were indestructible. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Shwa shwa shwa. Yi Qinghan's speed was even faster. His countless arms constantly grabbed onto the vines, wrapping them around the star-twisting vine's main body. He used the vines to tie it up, ruthlessly tying one knot after another until the star-twisting vine was tied into a ball. You'd best be honest, otherwise I'll burn you to ashes. I want to see if you really won't die. The star-twisting vine still wanted to struggle. It constantly erupted with energy, wanting to stretch out its vines a little longer. But it discovered that its speed was not as fast as Yi Qinghan's. As soon as it stretched out a little, Yi Qinghan tied it to its body. Now it was surrounded by flames. This was an 8th grade flame essence, and in addition to Yi Qinghan's true essence supporting it, it was absolutely capable of burning an ordinary great emperor to death. The star-twisting vine immediately became much more obedient. It issued a sharp cry and retreated. You want to leave after eating my most precious treasure? Yi Qinghan sneered. He grabbed a dozen or so vines and stretched them to their maximum length. Holding them in his hand, he viciously swung them around a few times, causing the star-twisting vine to become disoriented. The old man saw Yi Qinghan's audacity and recklessness. He actually dared to approach the star-twisting vine. This was simply courting death. The old man was immediately alarmed. You can't be careful. Poochie. The star-twisting vines directly broke through their limits. The vines pierced into Yi Qinghan's arm, immediately swallowing up a massive amount of life force. Yi Qinghan sucked in a breath of cold air. His entire body trembled, and he nearly fainted. 5 elements appear. Yi Qinghan clenched his right fist. Blue veins popped out on his right arm as a massive amount of true essence and dragon blood poured into his arm. He wanted to stop the star-twisting vine from swallowing his life force, but he also summoned the source of fire. Hua! Flames began to burn from within his right arm. The star-twisting vine felt the pain and automatically withdrew from Yi Qinghan's body. Then Yi Qinghan flung it away. Yi Qinghan was enraged. This damn thing was actually so stubborn. If you don't want to submit, then I'll bury you. Yi Qinghan's killing intent radiated out. He swiped his hand, causing a radius of several dozen meters to be enveloped in flames, with the star-twisting vine in the center. The star-twisting vine immediately became dispirited. No matter how powerful a plant was, it was still afraid of fire. This wasn't as simple as being its nemesis. The star-twisting vine took root in the ground, wanting to use the earth to escape. However, Yi Qinghan stamped his foot, sealing the ground with the source of metal. The earth element was sucked dry, and no matter how powerful the star-twisting vine was, it couldn't escape Yi Qinghan's control. Stop! If you dare to kill it, I'll wring your head off. A low voice resounded across 1,000 miles. Then, dozens of figures rushed over from all directions, surrounding Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. None of them were below the cultivation level of a great emperor, and their battle strength was extremely terrifying. Swish, 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 then a few more figures appeared. They were all from different factions, and all of them were peak great emperors. Even if they weren't titled, they were still outstanding. Yi Qinghan, hand over the star-twisting vine to this old man, and I'll take back your title. I guarantee that you will leave the 5th level safely. A middle-aged burly man in embroidered clothes said in a deep voice. Zhao Laosi, aren't you too arrogant? Can't you see that this old man is here? This has nothing to do with you. Get lost. Another burly man spoke. Judging from his clothes, he should be from a clan or sect, and his status was very high. Zhao Laosi frowned and looked at the two great emperors on the left. He thought to himself, aren't they Xue Chun and Xue Feng from the Xue clan on the 6th level? Why did you come here? My master wants this star-twisting vine. You'd better get out of the way. An old man in black clothes appeared in front of them. His face was full of demonic qi, which was extremely terrifying. Everyone frowned and looked at the old man in front of them vigilantly. They said in a hoarse voice, "You're with the devil-rinsing heavenly venerable." The old man immediately became arrogant and said disdainfully, "It's good that you know my master's title. Get lost." Everyone's faces darkened. They couldn't afford to offend a titled great emperor, not to mention that the devil-rinsing heavenly venerable had already become a great emperor. However, this was the 5th level, and titled great emperors couldn't enter. If they disturbed the order, they would be punished by the gods. The devil-rinsing heavenly venerable can't enter the 5th level. You can't scare us. As the saying goes, even a powerful dragon can't defeat a snake in its old haunts. I advise you to be sensible and leave immediately. Otherwise, don't blame us for being rude. Zhao Laosi scolded coldly. Yi Qinghan's lips curled. These people thought that he was a pushover. It was ridiculous that they could fight for the star-twisting vine before it even passed through his hands. What a joke. He reached out and grabbed the star-twisting vine that didn't dare to move. He withdrew the fire origin and stared at the experts. He found that they were all top-notch existences, and they were all fighting for the star-twisting vine. He couldn't help but be more curious about this damn thing. Aren't you being too rude? This thing is already mine. Even if you want it, shouldn't you discuss it with me first? Yi Qinghan said coldly. Discuss it with you? The expert's lips curled in disdain. Why would a group of great emperors need to discuss it with a quasi-emperor if they wanted something? Little thing, if you want to fight for a title, you'd better behave yourself and don't cause trouble. Give the star-twisting vine to me, and I might recommend you to my master. If my master likes you and accepts you as an outer disciple, you'll be able to roam the 9 underworlds freely, the black-robed old man said disdainfully. Arrogant. Even if the devil-rinsing heavenly venerable came in person, I'd still beat him up if he dared to talk to me like that, let alone you. You're eliminated. Get lost. Yi Qinghan said coldly. This star-twisting vine is in my hands. I can give it to whoever I want. If you're not convinced, you can fight. If I dare to fight for a title, it means that I don't put great emperors in my eyes. That includes you. Yi Qinghan was extremely domineering. His cold eyes pierced through the experts' hearts and souls, leaving them speechless for a long time. If you want the star-twisting vine, You'll have to show some sincerity. I have a mission on the 5th level. I need a clear sky white lotus and an emperor-grade divine herb. Whoever obtains these 2 items or provides the specific location, I'll consider giving the star-twisting vine to you. Yi Qinghan glanced at the crowd indifferently. It would be a waste not to use this free labor. Are you serious? As long as we provide clues, you'll give us the star-twisting vine? Xuechun and his brother asked immediately. As I said, it's not that I can't consider it. It depends on whether you're to my liking. Look at this old man. He doesn't use his brain when he speaks. If he dares to say another word, I don't mind making him vanish into thin air. Yi Qinghan said disdainfully as he looked coldly at the black-robed old man. The black-robed old man's veins bulged and his face turned purple. He had never been spoken to like this in his life. Even if a venerable emperor saw him, he would respectfully call him fellow Taoist, out of respect for the devil-rinsing heavenly venerable. Today he was humiliated by a quasi-emperor. Chapter 464. Devil-rinsing heavenly venerable's ghost slave, the black-clothed old man, looked ferocious and murderous. Yi Qinghan's lips curled up, and his eyes gradually revealed his murderous intent. He did not want to hide it. My master was a titled expert 30,000 years ago. You'd better think carefully before you speak, the black-clothed old man threatened in a cold voice. He was titled 30,000 years ago, but now he's still a venerable sovereign. I can only say that his aptitude is mediocre. He wants to take me as his disciple? He's just a pile of mud. If he wants to be my disciple, I'll have to consider giving him some advice. Yi Qinghan said disdainfully. Ha ha ha. Everyone laughed. It was the first time someone dared to insult a venerable sovereign, especially a quasi-emperor. They suddenly felt much better. However, this sentence offended all the emperors in the 9 serenities. Which venerable sovereign did not have a lifespan of 30,000 to 50,000 years? If devil-rinsing heavenly venerable was a pile of mud that could not be helped, wouldn't most of the venerable sovereigns in the world be piles of mud? Moreover, Yi Qinghan's actions and words were broadcasted live. It was just that Yi Qinghan did not know about it. On the 9th floor, devil-rinsing heavenly venerable's face darkened. He stared coldly at the image, his murderous intent surging. At the same time, more than a dozen venerable sovereigns in the intelligence system's video hall had murderous looks on their faces. They were extremely dissatisfied with Yi Qinghan's words. Although Yi Qinghan wasn't scolding them, he was attacking them as well. The Feather Emperor's mouth twitched. In terms of age, he was a venerable sovereign who had cultivated for 70,000 years, and was also a titled Great Emperor. Who would not want to become a divine priest? However, was it so easy to become a divine priest? Snatching a godhead meant that one had to kill a divine priest who was compatible with the strongest element in one's body. The gap between a venerable sovereign and a divine priest was thousands of miles. No one had ever succeeded in this path. As for the second path, using faith to condense a godhead of elements, it was even more difficult. If one could not worship a divine priest as his master, almost no one could condense a godhead. Godheads were the greatest divine objects in the world. Some were naturally formed chaotic treasures that could store divine power and souls. The bigger the godhead, the more divine power it could store, which meant that the divine priest was more powerful. Yi Qinghan had killed all the sovereigns with a single strike, so no one below the 9th layer was happy. How dare you? How arrogant! Furious, Grand Monarch Shura smashed the ironwood table and chair with a palm strike, causing his clothes to flutter violently. I'm sure that this man will never get a title. He will definitely die on the 8th floor, said the devil-rinsing primogenitor coldly. The Emperor of Feathers squinted his eyes as he looked at Yi Qinghan's image. A cold glint flickered in his eyes as the corner of his lips curled up. Once again he formed a seal to contact his eldest disciple, Chaoyang. Master, your disciple is about to reach the 5th level. Do you have any instructions for me? Chaoyang bowed slightly. Cripple Yi Qinghan and destroy his cultivation. Let him understand that a loose tongue can cause trouble, Feather Emperor said coldly. He isn't taking the test? Chaoyang was stunned. Seeing the Feather Emperor's aura grow colder and colder, He hurriedly bowed and replied, "Yes, master." On the 5th floor, in the Sea of Flowers, the black-robed elder roared and drew his sword to attack Yi Qinghan. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. A sword light descended from the sky, and the sword chi shattered hundreds of meters of the Sea of Flowers and green vines. The demonic chi in his body forcibly seized the vitality of the flowers and plants and turned it into his own. Whoosh. Wind mark was activated to the maximum. Yi Qinghan's figure cut across the sky. Vital essence penetrated his treasure body, and the treasure light soared into the sky. Thousands of afterimages appeared as he rushed toward the black-robed elder from all directions. "Swallow him." A cold voice resounded through the 5th floor. It was cold and callous, as if a sharp knife had pierced into the hearts and souls of the heroes, causing them to shudder. When Yi Qinghan approached the black-robed elder, he released the restraints on the star-twining vine, allowing it to move freely. The long vine's roots pierced through the void and pierced into the black-robed elder's body. "Pucha!" The black-robed elder screamed in horror. By the time he reacted, his entire body was covered in vines. Even his emperor chi could not break these vines. The roots pierced directly into his body, and his vigorous chi blood and life essence were instantly sucked dry. All that was left was a dried corpse, as if he had been dead for tens of thousands of years. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The star-twining vine had eaten a large number of treasures that Yi Qinghan had given it. Now that it had swallowed a powerful great emperor alive, it waved its vines in front of Yi Qinghan. There was no danger at all. It was clearly just a beautiful golden plant. The heroes were shocked. This was the star-twining vine. It was so obedient and harmless when it was full, but when it was hungry, it could even swallow stones. The speed of its swallowing was so fast that it was unimaginable. It could swallow a powerful great emperor in an instant. "Follow me and I'll let you eat and drink to your heart's content every day. If you want to escape, I don't mind sending you to the Western Paradise right now," Yi Qinghan said coldly. The star-twining vine waved its largest vine continuously, as if it was nodding. The ghost slave elder in charge of Yi Qinghan's assessment was shocked, and did not know what to say. The star-twining vine was the hardest to raise and serve. When it was not fed, it could instantly kill its master. Moreover, its master's death had no effect on it. No boundary emperor had ever dared to raise this evil divine object. Even ordinary great emperors did not dare to raise it. "Yi Qinghan, this old man advises you to sell this star-twining vine to someone who needs it. If you keep it, it will definitely be a disaster," the elder reminded in a deep voice. No one dared to say anything, afraid of angering Yi Qinghan. At this time, negotiating and buying it was the best choice. Yi Qinghan sneered. He had the living soil, a divine soil that could never be consumed. It was enough to feed the star-twining vine to the emperor level. In addition, it had killed and swallowed enemies along the way, so it could definitely be raised. How could he give away such a divine object? This was definitely not his character. Yi Qinghan was silent for a moment, then reached out and grabbed the star-twining vine. He placed it on his right hand, making everyone's face turn cold. This action was no less than a mortal placing the world's most poisonous snake in the palm of his hand. Jia Si and the two Shui brothers trembled. They looked at Yi Qinghan as if they were looking at a madman. "Take the initiative to recognize me as your master. Don't make trouble for me. You definitely can't kill me in an instant, but I can crush you hundreds of times." Yi Qinghan warned the star-twining vine coldly. The star-twining vine looked at Yi Qinghan's cold eyes and didn't dare to kill Yi Qinghan for a moment. Its main root pierced Yi Qinghan's right hand, and with a flash of golden light, the star-twining vine and Yi Qinghan's soul merged into one. A large amount of memories about the star-twining vine flooded his knowledge sea. The star-twining vine was a divine great spirit plant that could grow indefinitely. It could swallow anything in the world, and seize its world energy. It could even swallow an entire life star. Its appetite was astonishing and its vitality was tenacious. It couldn't be killed, but it could be starved to death. Many star-twining vines had appeared in history, but most of them had died of starvation. There were also a few that chose to live in the bodies of masters and coexist with them. "Yi Qinghan, didn't you say that if we found the azure sky white lotus and emperor-grade spirit herbs, you would trade with us?" Shuechen and Shueyang asked in a low voice. Have you found them? Yi Qinghan asked indifferently. No. Shuechen shook his head and frowned. Then what are you talking to me about? I don't want to trade now. You can leave, Yi Qinghan said in a domineering tone. You're courting death. The great emperors from more than a dozen forces were instantly enraged. At least 20 great emperors surrounded Yi Qinghan. Some even wanted to capture Ren Huangyi to threaten Yi Qinghan. Boom. Yi Qinghan punched towards the great emperor that was charging towards Emperor Yi. His figure turned and his fist broke through the great emperor's defense. The star-twining vine suddenly rushed out from Yi Qinghan's arm and instantly surrounded the great emperor. Countless roots pierced into the great emperor's body at the same time. His soul, flesh, blood, and blood were all devoured by the vine. The great emperor was still flying backwards when he turned into a dried corpse. Think carefully before you act. The only outcome for those who oppose me is death. Yi Qinghan said arrogantly. Everyone didn't put them in his eyes at all. These great emperors were just ordinary great emperors. Even Kei Long and Mortal Saint great emperors could crush them. Xue Chun and Xue Feng looked at each other and cupped their fists. Mr. Yi, our Xue family has never taken things by force. We only want to do business properly. I'll go look for emperor-level divine herbs and clear sky white lotus. I hope we'll have a chance to talk. With that, the two brothers left together. Zhao Laosi and the others didn't want to give up. They were all recruited by others and wanted to snatch the star-twining vine and give it to a supreme expert. If a lower god priest took a fancy to it, they wouldn't have to worry about it for the rest of their lives. Therefore, there was no lack of people who didn't fear death. Although they knew Yi Qinghan was very strong, no one wanted to give up. What about you guys? Do you also want to fight? Yi Qinghan looked at Zhao Laosi and the others with disdain and asked coldly. After swallowing the life essence of two great emperors, the star-twining vine was very happy. It had already fused with Yi Qinghan. The hundreds of vines had grown a lot and attached themselves to Yi Qinghan's body. It was as if they had grown out of Yi Qinghan's body. They kept dancing and intimidating everyone. No one dared to say anything more. Trouble comes from careless talk. The previous two great emperors had died in this way. At this moment, Emperor Yi suddenly flashed with a cold light. He pulled a string and a sound blade shot towards the void, piercing through space. Boom. A figure rushed out from the void. It was a young man with a jade-like aura. His white robe and jade silk were wrapped around his body. He was incomparably luxurious. Just his aura alone was enough to suppress all the great emperors. Chao Yang had rushed from the 6th floor to the 5th floor. Yi Qinghan and Chao Yang looked at each other. Their eyes were filled with a strong desire to battle. Their aura spread out, and the pressure was so strong that it forced everyone to back off. You are Yi Qinghan? Chao Yang asked coldly. And who are you? Yi Qinghan was surprised. No matter how he looked at it, this person did not look like a soul. He had flesh and blood, and he was ridiculously powerful. You are not qualified to know who I am. Give me the star-twining vine, and destroy your own power. Then I will spare your life, Chao Yang said coldly. Emperor Yi rolled his eyes. He tapped on the ground and landed on Yi Qinghan's shoulder. He looked down at the handsome man in front of him and said in a crisp voice, Is there something wrong with your head? Did you get hit by the door frame when you went out? What a pity. You are such a good-looking man. You are so young, yet you have turned into a fool. Ha! Yi Qinghan did not give him any face and laughed. Emperor Yi had known Parrot for so long. He could scold someone without using any vulgarities. It was enough to anger someone to death. Chapter 465. On the 5th level, within the Sea of Flowers, a strong wind swept up waves of flowers and butterflies danced in the air. Although Chao Yang had yet to be given a title, his name was known by everyone on the 9th level. He was the eldest disciple of the Feather Emperor. Although he was not the strongest disciple, it was not a problem for him to defeat the great emperors. Very well, you are the first people who dare to blaspheme my dignity. Chao Yang looked straight into Emperor Ye's eyes and almost fell into the vast galaxy. He hurriedly dodged and thought to himself, Who is this girl? What a deep pair of eyes. Emperor Yi smirked and looked at Qiao Yang in disdain. He hated it when people humiliated Yi Qinghan. This person wanted Yi Qinghan to cripple his own cultivation. This was intolerable. Master, leave this battle to me. You don't need to fight trash like this. Emperor Yi said domineeringly. He had already decided that Yi Qinghan would not be allowed to refute. Qiao Yang's aura stagnated. His mouth twitched and his eyes flashed coldly. He said hoarsely, "All of you, come at me together. Otherwise you will say that I bullied you." Buzz. Hissed at what answered him was not words but Emperor Ye's domineering zither music. It was filled with killing intent. Thousands of melodies materialized and turned into sound blades that cut through the void. I alone am enough to kill you. Why do I need my master to do it? Qiao Yang's voice resounded through the clouds along with the buried emperor's song. The green vines retreated and the man-eating flowers closed their petals in shock. Whoosh! Emperor Yi flew into the sky, her white dress dancing. She sat cross-legged in the void and looked down at everyone. If you don't want to die, get out of here. Otherwise, I will make you all stay here. Emperor Ye's domineering aura filled the sky. She was like a goddess whose will would not allow anyone to blaspheme her. Yi Qinghan shook his head and retreated to the side. He did not interfere. To Emperor Yi, 10 great emperors and 1 great emperor were no different. She was good at fighting one against many. The heroes raised their heads to look at Emperor Yi in humiliation. They were extremely dissatisfied. Qiao Yang was even more enraged. His handsome face carried a hint of mockery as he looked at Yi Qinghan and muttered, "You don't have the guts to fight, so you sent a little girl who's still wet behind the ears. Do you think I won't kill her?" On the 9th floor, the Feather Emperor's expression was unsightly as he angrily said, "Damn it, I forgot to remind him that Emperor Yi is a soul expert." Boom. As expected, Emperor Yi launched a surprise attack. Guqin sounds filled the air and rushed into the sea of consciousness of Zhu Xiong. His jade-like hand slammed onto the Renhuang Guqin, causing Guqin sounds to explode. It was as though heavenly lightning had struck the sea of consciousness of Zhu Xiong. Bang! The heads of the great emperors who were slightly weaker exploded. Their souls were blasted into smithereens. They didn't even have time to scream before they fell to the ground. With a wave of his hand, Yi Qinghan grabbed the corpse, which was instantly devoured by the star-twisting vine. Qiao Yang was shocked. His face turned pale and his hand trembled. A feather-like sword appeared in his hand. It looked light and weak, but it was extremely sharp. Feather breaks the heavens and earth. Sword Dao flowers bloom. Swoosh. Swoosh. Die. Qiao Yang soared into the sky and charged towards Emperor Ye's body. Buzz. 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 Emperor Ye's 10 fingers moved randomly. Although it looked messy, it was actually filled with boundless laws. Guqin sounds targeted every snowflake. When the Guqin sounds collided with the snowflakes, they exploded. Swoosh. Renhuang Yi also used Wind Mark. He pierced through the clouds and dodged Qiao Yang's attack. A peerless silhouette disappeared from everyone's sight. When he reappeared, he was already behind Qiao Yang. His 5 fingers plucked out 9 Guqin strings. Then he pulled them back fiercely. A soul-stealing arrow appeared. 9 arrows combined, tracking arrow. Go. 9 consecutive arrows pierced through the void and combined into one, forming a huge arrow. It carried a strand of Emperor Ye's will as it shot towards Qiao Yang. Qiao Yang's hair stood on end. He leaped into the sky, trying to dodge Emperor Ye's attack. Shoo. Shoo. The tracking arrow followed closely. Its speed was extremely fast, even faster than lightning. It broke through the limit and instantly pierced through Qiao Yang's body. Ah! Qiao Yang screamed. His body was blasted into pieces. His soul was almost shattered by the sharp arrow force. The tracking arrow didn't stop there. It pierced through the sky with a murderous aura and shot towards the depths of the 9 underworlds. Boom. Emperor Yi attacked again. Guqin sounds wrapped around Qiao Yang. Sound blades appeared out of nowhere, making it impossible for him to dodge. In an instant, Qiao Yang was defeated. His soul was weakened, and he couldn't stop Emperor Ye's attack. He could only frantically dodge while shouting, "Stop! I'm the 9th level. Feather Emperor's disciple. Since you chose to attack, even if you're the 18th level's Overlord's disciple, you still have to die." Emperor Yi transformed into a guqin. Treasure light soared into the sky, and divinity shot out in all directions. The phantom grabbed onto a string of the guqin and gently twisted it. Then he pulled it back and released it. The string returned to its original position and vibrated crazily. Wherever his will passed, everything was shattered. Shake. The string vibrated, causing the heaven and earth to shake. The ground turned into dust, and the sea of flowers was attacked. The void fluctuated, and Chao Yang's soul was drawn into the folded space. It was directly crushed and turned into nothingness. The other great emperors were shocked. They either chose to escape crazily or attack Yi Qinghan directly. Only now did they know that the strongest wasn't Yi Qinghan, but this little girl. Yi Qinghan sneered. He formed a seal with his palms and shouted, "5 elements combine." Boom. With a push of his palms, the 5 dragons appeared and merged into one. The dragon roared, and the aura spread out for 1,000 miles. Instantly, the heaven and earth cracked. At the same time, the star-twining vines stretched out for nearly 100 meters. Hundreds of vines were activated at the same time, piercing through the bodies of more than 10 great emperors and instantly sucking out their vitality. The remaining great emperors were stunned and didn't dare to move. "Dao friend, we are only here to make a deal. If you don't want to sell the star-twining vine, we will leave." Jiaxi was shocked. He bowed and said, "You don't want to snatch it anymore?" Yi Qinghan walked up and smiled. "Absolutely not. Dao friend, you misunderstood." Jiaxi vowed solemnly. "It's good that you don't. However, I do have a presumptuous request. I wonder if Dao friends are willing to help?" Yi Qinghan had a strange expression. He definitely didn't have the tone and expression that one should have when asking for help. "Dao friend, please speak. As long as it's the 5th level, there's nothing that I can't do." Jiaxi immediately replied. The old man in charge of Yi Qinghan's assessment rolled his eyes. Were these bastards really great emperors? How could they be so embarrassing? Great emperors had been training in the 9 underworlds for a long time. They would speak human language if they saw ghosts. This wasn't a small plane. There were great emperors everywhere. A little carelessness could lead to death. Everyone knew that when it was time to be strong, they should be strong. When it was time to be weak, they should shrink their heads. Emperor Yi returned to Yi Qinghan's shoulder and looked down at everyone. Jiaxi and the others were scared and didn't dare to raise their heads to look at her. "I'm taking the assessment. I need a ticket to the 6th level. I need an emperor-level elixir and a blue sky white lotus. It's not easy to find them in this vast sea of flowers. Do you have any suggestions?" Yi Qinghan smiled and said, "This emperor, I, Jiaxi, will lead my brothers to search for them. Once we find them, we will definitely inform you." Jiaxi immediately said flatteringly, "Oh, then I'll have to trouble you. You won't lie to me, will you? If I know that you've returned to the Ghost District instead of helping me find elixirs, I will go to the city to find you." Yi Qinghan warned them coldly. Jiaxi and the others swallowed their saliva and shook their heads repeatedly. They didn't dare. Then, they exchanged messaging charms and started to search for elixirs and treasures separately. Boom. In the intelligence systems hall on the 9th level, the Feather Emperor was so angry that he almost smashed the intelligence system with his palm. Arrogant. Extremely arrogant. These 2 juniors have gone too far. The Feather Emperor roared. Chaoyang wasn't the Feather Emperor's strongest disciple, but he was still an inner disciple. They had a good relationship for thousands of years. How could the Feather Emperor not be angry when he died? The Shura sovereign looked at Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yezbax and said coldly, "These 2 bastards don't look like they're here to take the assessment. I think they're here to pick a fight. I can make decisions for the first 9 levels. I don't want them to pass the assessment. No one can get a title. I'll make them pay." The Feather Emperor's eyes flashed with killing intent. He couldn't calm down. "Now that the Eye of 9 Nether has opened, I'm afraid it won't be easy to deal with them." A sovereign reminded him kindly. He was afraid that he would anger the big shot behind him. "Humph. Do they need to cheat? Don't forget that I'm the one who decides the assessment for the 9th level. There are some places in the 9th level that even I don't dare to go. If they go there, They won't be able to return. The Feather Emperor said coldly. Don't tell me you want to send them to the purgatory of dragon? Zhu Xiong's pupils shrank and he trembled. Humph. The Feather Emperor snorted coldly and didn't say anything else. Everyone couldn't help but pray for Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. The purgatory of dragon wasn't a place ordinary people could enter. A large number of sovereigns and sovereigns were imprisoned there. Each of them was extremely vicious and would kill without batting an eye. Even the Feather Emperor had to be extremely careful when he went in for an inspection. A single expert from the purgatory of dragon could sweep through the first 9 levels of the netherworld underworld. Yi Qinghan didn't know that the big shot of the 9th level had decided to take revenge on them. At this moment, he was approaching the azure sky White Lotus through the start-winding vine. He and Emperor Yi had set up an inescapable net to imprison one party. Within the domain, the two were like gods. No one could escape. The azure sky White Lotus was a huge lotus. It could absorb the essence of the blood moon at night and grow 10,000 meters tall. During the day, it would shrink in the swamp's weeds. If it wasn't for a coincidence, it would be impossible to find it. At this moment, the azure sky White Lotus was awakened by Yi Qinghan's aura. It didn't change at all, and was no different from the weeds nearby. It didn't dare show the slightest sign of abnormality, for fear of being discovered by Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan let out a muffled groan. At this time he couldn't care less. This was a natural object nurtured by the heavens. If it could leave the netherworld underworld, he could do anything. Swoosh. Yi Qinghan reached out with his large hand, and directly pulled the azure sky White Lotus out of the swamp. He stored it in his consciousness and planted it in the Sea of Bitterness. 2 days later, Zha For and the others sent news. Yi Qinghan opened it and couldn't help but be delighted. The Emperor-grade divine medicine had been found and the 6th level was just around the corner. Chapter 466. Whooshed, a figure streaked across the sea of flowers and rushed into the depths. The star-twining vine wrapped around Yi Qinghan's body, and its roots kept poking at Emperor Ye's ankles. It wanted to get close to her, but it was a little timid. The star-twining vine, which could reach the level of a god, was actually afraid of a little girl. The heroes of the 9 underworlds looked at the image and felt a chill. Emperor Yi ignored it, and didn't stop it from getting closer. The star-twining vine couldn't help but become bolder. It stretched out its main vine and wrapped around Emperor Ye's javelin-like long legs, slowly extending to her waist. The vine crossed the peak and teased Emperor Yi like a naughty little guy. Emperor Yi curled her lips and put away the Emperor's zither. Her hands were wrapped around her chest, and her short skirt was raised. Her tight pants outlined her perfect figure, like a beauty who walked out of a fairyland. Once the Emperor's zither disappeared, the star-twining vine couldn't help but become bolder. It wrapped around Emperor Ye's neck, but was slapped away by her. This little thing didn't seem to have much strength, but once it wrapped around the Emperor's neck, it could definitely strangle him to death. Emperor Yi was very wary of it. Hee hee. A crisp laughter sounded in Emperor Ye's mind. It was very tender, like a 3 or 4-year-old child. He couldn't even tell its gender. Emperor Ye's pupils shrank as he looked at the star-twining vine in shock. He hurriedly said, "Master, this little guy can talk. Can you hear it?" Yi Qinghan shook his head and stopped. In the future, Emperor Yi would hallucinate. If this thing could talk, it would be much easier. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to communicate with it. Sister, how are you? I won't hurt you." The star-twining vine waved its vines and spoke softly. No one would associate this voice with the star-twining vine that killed without blinking an eye. Emperor Yi was surprised. Seeing that Yi Qinghan still didn't hear it, he couldn't help but be curious. This little thing didn't communicate with its master, but actually communicated with him. "Sister, your soul is so clean. Can I be with you? This person is too scary. I don't want to stay with him." The star-twisting vine felt wronged. It used its vine to point at Yi Qinghan, but it didn't dare to do anything excessive. Emperor Ye's eyes widened as he looked at the star-twisting vine. He realized that it was very smart. Was it pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger? "Master, it said that you are very scary. It doesn't want to stay with you and wants to stay with me," Emperor Yi said directly to Yi Qinghan. The star-twisting vine immediately retracted its roots and said angrily, "You scoundrel, how dare you complain? I must be blind to think that you're good." Emperor Yi smiled. This little fellow was quite straightforward. Tell it that it can forget about running away for the rest of its life. If it makes me angry, I'll set it on fire. Yi Qinghan continued to move forward, increasing his speed. Millions of miles away, in a boundless forest, there were countless hidden mountains and valleys. There were plants everywhere. This was simply a world of flowers. There were countless medicinal herbs, some of which had grown for tens of thousands of years, or even hundreds of thousands of years. Most of them already had intelligence and had begun to absorb the essence of the sun and moon, cultivating into spirits. Zhao Laozi and the others were lying outside a valley, looking at a divine herb inside the valley. It was emitting divine light and bathed in the sunlight. It had already reached the emperor level. Although it hadn't proven its Tao, it was close. It could attract the lightning tribulation at any time and successfully prove its Tao. This is a divine herb. Fourth brother, are we just going to give it to Yi Qinghan? A great emperor beside Zhao Laozi said helplessly. Zhao Laozi's expression was ugly. He was obviously unwilling, but what could he do? If he snatched the divine herb and left, and Yi Qinghan really chased him into the city, who could stop him if there were no emperors on the 5th floor? Sigh, let's just spend some money to avoid disaster. I hope we can form good karma. Zhao Laozi smiled bitterly and transmitted his voice. At this moment, Yi Qinghan quietly appeared outside the valley without a sound. They only discovered him when he approached Zhao Laozi. They were shocked and immediately disturbed the divine herb. Whoosh! The divine herb soared into the sky, and its precious light streaked across the river. Seal! Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi flew into the sky at the same time. They surrounded the divine herb and forced it into the valley. However, no one expected that they would be unable to stop the star-twining vine. Its speed was almost as fast as Yi Qinghan's. It rushed out directly, and its long vine stretched out 1,000 miles. It wrapped around the divine herb and swallowed it in one gulp. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and almost jumped up in anger. They had finally found the ticket, but it was swallowed by this little guy in one gulp. You bastard! Yi Qinghan was furious. He wanted to tear the star-twining vine to shreds and ruthlessly trample on it. He pointed at it and shouted angrily, "Are you the reincarnation of a hungry ghost?" After swallowing the divine herb, the star-twining vine grew a lot, 3 to 4 times its original size. It began to level up. The star-twining vine was divided into 9 levels. When it was first born, it was a level 1 star-twining vine that could kill all creatures below the Great Emperor realm. Now that it was at level 2, it could kill Emperor-level creatures. If a Great Emperor was not on guard, it could definitely kill him in an instant. If it was at level 3, it would definitely be no match for it. Once it was at level 4, it would be invincible below the Great Emperor realm. At level 5, it could kill Great Emperors. Whoosh! The star-twining vine ignored Yi Qinghan's anger and directly wrapped itself around Emperor Ye's shoulder. It began to level up in a coma. Yi Qinghan's face twitched. He looked at the old man behind him and didn't know what to do. All the almighty experts watching the video sneered and gloated. This wasn't just because Yi Qinghan didn't get a ticket. After the star-twining vine leveled up, it could kill a great emperor instantly. After leveling up, it would fall into extreme hunger. If there was no food, it would definitely kill its master. Yi Qinghan didn't know how the star-twining vine leveled up, so he didn't prepare any food. When the star-twining vine leveled up a day later, it would be Yi Qinghan's death. Humph, it seems like I don't have to do anything. The Feather Emperor sneered and began to secretly send great emperors to the 5th floor to snatch the star-twining vine. All the great emperors saw hope. The star-twining vine was the easiest to tame now. Any later, and there would be no hope. On the 5th floor, the old man looked at the star-twining vine on Emperor Ye's shoulder. The corner of his mouth twitched slightly. He hesitated for a moment and finally said in a hoarse voice, "I advise you to prepare a large amount of divine herbs for the star-twining vine. After it completes its evolution, it will swallow anything it sees. Killing its master isn't a big deal to it." Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed. He frowned and asked, How many days does it need to evolve? 1 day. If you don't have any food after 1 day, it's best to give up on it and stay away from it, the old man reminded. The old man reminded in a deep voice. It's a special pet of the gods, and only a few titled emperors can raise it. I've never seen a great emperor raise it. Either it's dead, or the great emperor has been swallowed. Yi Qinghan frowned and clenched his fist. He said to Emperor Yi, if I don't return by tomorrow, immediately shake it off. If there's no other way, kill the star-twining vine directly. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan streaked across the galaxy. His divine sense spread out for thousands of miles. He reached out and grabbed any powerful divine herbs he saw. Powerful plants, ferocious beasts. As long as it was a creature with vigorous vitality and spiritual energy, they were all captured by him. In the fifth-floor sea of flowers there were howls and cries. Yi Qinghan stirred up a storm of blood. No one knew how many powerful creatures he had captured. It took him half a day to capture all creatures above the Great Emperor realm. However, according to the star-twining vine's appetite, these weren't even enough to fill the gaps between its teeth. Yi Qinghan frowned. Time was running out and there weren't enough living creatures. He couldn't capture ghosts. Those were real humans. Even if they died, they would still be of the same race. He didn't feel good about using them to raise his own spirit plants. However, if they were enemies, it would be different. What should I do? Do I have to give it all of the remaining living soil? Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and began to rush back. As time passed, the old man also became vigilant and began to retreat slowly. The star-twining vine that had advanced to the 3rd level could already kill most great emperors. If he wasn't careful, he wouldn't be able to survive. Zhao Laosi and the others fled madly. They didn't wait for Yi Qinghan anymore. Fellow Emperor Yi, I advise you to leave it. It's best if you kill it now. You can't leave it alive. The old man kindly reminded him. There's still 2 hours. We'll wait for Master to come back. Emperor Yi replied softly. His attitude was very firm. The old man was helpless. He decided to wait for another hour. If Yi Qinghan didn't come back or if Emperor Yi didn't give up on the star-twining vine, then he would have to give up on the 2 of them. This task of sealing was obviously impossible. Just as Yi Qinghan was rushing towards Emperor Yi, a figure rushed over from the 6th floor. It was the ghost slave of the god shrine. He was at the Emperor realm. At this moment he had quietly descended and was constantly searching for Yi Qinghan's traces. Not long after, a few more powerful great emperors appeared on the 5th floor. They rushed towards Emperor Ye's valley from all directions. Their target was the star-twining vine. An hour later, just as the old man was about to retreat, Yi Qinghan appeared. Whoosh! A large number of unconscious creatures and divine herbs appeared out of thin air outside the valley. If this was the boundless plains, it would be enough to form a powerful army. However, the old man shook his head and said, "It's just a drop in the bucket. Let it go. You don't have time to look for divine herbs anymore." Yi Qinghan didn't want to give up. The god shrine would fight to the death for such a powerful spiritual plant. How could he give it up when he got it? That was impossible. I still have some living soil. It should be enough to deal with its hunger after it evolves. Yi Qinghan said in a low voice, "Living soil? Your luck is not bad. However, this old man still doesn't approve of you raising this thing. If I were you, I would give it to a god shrine. If they were willing to accept you as a disciple or give you a few pointers, it would be enough for you to enjoy for the rest of your life." The old man's eyes flashed as he said in a hoarse voice, "If you believe this old man, I can recommend you to a powerful god shrine. After the 10th floor, he is one of the best even among the lesser god shrines." Yi Qinghan smiled slightly. It wasn't his style to give away his treasures to others. A man can't be rich without a windfall. "I will definitely raise this star-twining vine. However, I still have to thank Senior for your pointers. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have known that it needed nourishment after evolving," Yi Qinghan said seriously. As time passed, the star-twining vine showed signs of awakening. Yi Qinghan took it over, afraid that it would hurt Emperor Yi in his sleep. He saw its roots and vines desperately trying to burrow into Yi Qinghan's body. Yi Qinghan unceremoniously threw it into the divine herb. Chapter 467. After leveling up, the star-twining vine was more than 10 meters tall, and its vines could extend over 100 meters. Large amounts of godly herbs and creatures were instantly devoured by it. Yi Qinghan looked at the star-twining vine's devouring speed and realized that he had underestimated the star-twining vine's appetite. Just as the old man had said, these things were like a drop in the bucket to the star-twining vine. The growing soil would speed up its growth and increase its hunger. When that time came, it would be even harder to serve. It's about to wake up. You have less than half an incense's time left. Kill it, or you won't have a chance to escape. The old man reminded in a deep voice. If they controlled the star-twining vine now and imprisoned it, it would starve to death. After leveling up, it needed food, so they could only choose to feed it or kill it. There was no other way. Yi Qinghan's fingertips trembled slightly, and a peak-level 8th grade flame appeared in his palm. He was ready to kill. Boom. The ghost slave sovereign sped across countless miles and landed in front. He reached out his hand to grab the star-twining vine with extreme speed. The might of a sovereign was much stronger than that of a great emperor. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, more than 10 figures appeared. Every great emperor was an elite among elites. Most of them attacked the sovereign at the same time, while the remaining one grabbed the star-twining vine. 100 meters above the valley, the void collapsed as lightning tore through the space. It was a horrifying scene. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Boom boom boom. Everyone's speed was soul-stirring. The slightest carelessness could lead to the death of a great emperor. Yi Qinghan's eyes shone brightly as he revealed a sinister smile. He looked at Emperor Yi and said, "Let's work together and feed them to the star-twining vine." Whoosh. Ren Huangyi rushed to Yi Qinghan's shoulder and transformed into a guqin at the same time. Ren Huangyi pulled the gigantic illusion of a divine guqin. The sound of the guqin was vast and mighty. It suddenly charged into the great emperor's sea of consciousness and exploded in an instant, causing the great emperor to flee from the void. Boom. Yi Qinghan made his move at the same time. He clenched his fists tightly and veins popped out all over his body. He channeled all his strength into his fist and slammed it into the great emperor's chest, sending him flying to the side of the star-twining vine. The great emperor roared furiously, awakening the star-twining vine. Hundreds of vines and roots instantly wrapped around the great emperor's body. The powerful emperor's armor couldn't withstand the star-twining vine's attack, and the vines pierced into his body. Ah! The great monarch's body twitched. He struggled madly and broke the vines, but he quickly recovered. The great monarch's blood essence was vigorous, but his mortal body quickly withered. Even with his strong recovery ability, he soon turned into a pile of dried corpses. Even the monarch weapon in his hand was devoured by the star-twining vines and turned into scrap metal. Yi Qinghan's pupils constricted. This creature was indeed a special pet of the gods. However, the stronger the star-twisting vine was, the more excited Yi Qinghan became. He was not afraid that it would one day kill its master. Boom! With a loud bang, the venerable sovereign exploded. The shockwave sent more than 10 great emperors flying as he roared with a ferocious expression. "Get out of my way! If you dare to stop me again, I will kill all of you." The ghost slave venerable sovereign said coldly, "Oomph! You talk big. We might not be able to kill you, but we still have a chance to snatch the star-twining vine." The leader of the great emperors snorted disdainfully and said to the 2 great emperors behind him, Old 4, Old 5, kill Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi and bring the star-twining vine back. We will stop this venerable sovereign." Whoosh. The great emperors had a clear goal. Most of them were there to slow down the venerable sovereign, and did not try to fight him head-on. The venerable sovereign's secret technique was much stronger than that of the great emperors. He could defeat a great emperor with a single move. He did not even need to defend against the great emperor's attacks. He pushed his way forward and rushed toward Yi Qinghan. On the other side, Old 4 and Old 5 did not even give Yi Qinghan a chance to speak. The 2 of them attacked Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi together. Old 4's soul was extremely strong, and he even had a soul defense great emperor weapon in his sea of consciousness. Their combination was made specifically to deal with Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. Whoosh! The valley was razed to the ground. The 2 sides fought fiercely. The aura of death filled the air. The slightest carelessness could lead to death. Yi Qinghan frowned and summoned Zhong Kuang. He said hoarsely, "I will deal with the one with the soul defense great emperor weapon. You kill the other one." Whoosh whoosh. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Ye's figures crossed each other. Their figures were as traceless as the wind. The sound of the guqin was vast and mighty, suppressing the great emperor's strength and vitality. Sound blades pierced through the void, and could appear at someone's neck at any time. Everyone had to defend themselves, including the venerable sovereign. Hum. Emperor Yi was smart. He knew that the great emperors were no match for the venerable sovereign. He suddenly changed the momentum of his music halfway through. It became grand and solemn, stimulating the great emperor's vitality and increasing their combat strength. Suddenly, the great emperors attacked the venerable sovereign. This was exactly what Emperor Yi wanted. He wanted both sides to suffer great losses. Die. Yi Qinghan suddenly appeared behind Old Four and punched him in the back. The dragon blood in his body boiled, almost raising his physical strength to the maximum. Old Four's soul defense was extremely strong. The moment Yi Qinghan appeared behind him, he sensed it. He leaped into the air and swung his sword, stabbing it toward Yi Qinghan's eyes. Before the sword arrived, the sword chi made one's skin hurt. The great emperor's techniques were superb. They could ignore all defenses and directly attack the origin. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Yi Qinghan and Old Four constantly changed their positions. They fought until the heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. Their afterimages were everywhere, but neither side could do anything to the other. However, Emperor Ye's side was in a one-sided situation. Emperor Ye's finger technique was very strange. Half of his music stimulated the other great emperor's vitality, but it suppressed Old Five until he couldn't breathe. Even the slightest use of his emperor chi would cause his true yuan and vitality to self-destruct. He had no choice but to use half of his strength to suppress the restless true yuan. The remaining half was no match for Emperor Yi. Moreover, Old Five didn't have any soul defense, and was directly blasted into his consciousness by the music. Boom. Old Five's soul felt like it was being pricked by needles. He immediately hugged his head and screamed, unable to defend himself. At this moment, the star-twining vine suddenly soared into the sky and stretched out thousands of meters long. It wrapped around Old Five's body and tightened. The vine kept breaking, but new vines kept growing. It was soft but firm. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to break an ordinary vine. Ah! Save me! Old Five screamed, but he was quickly swallowed by the star-twining vine. The star-twining vine had swallowed two great emperors in a row, and they were elites among elites. In addition, Yi Qinghan had provided a large amount of food. At this moment, it finally had the strength to move. Hunger made it crazy and restless. With only a sliver of rationality left, it didn't choose to kill Emperor Yi. Instead, it rushed towards Yi Qinghan's opponent, Old Four. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed as he forced Old Four towards the star-twining vine. Whoosh! Whoosh! Yi Qinghan's 7-foot berserk vine danced around without any openings. It was so oppressive that Old Four couldn't retreat, and was heavily injured. The star-twining vine stretched out its vines and began to gather, wrapping Yi Qinghan within. Old Four roared in shock. "You lunatic! You'll die even if you don't dodge." Yi Qinghan laughed disdainfully and said coldly, "Don't worry. Go and die by yourself. I'm not interested in dying with you." Boom. The saber slashed the god-slaying berserk, and the shockwave suppressed the ground. A terrifying ravine appeared in the valley, and the shockwave actually broke one of the vines. The star-twining vine felt a piercing pain, and it regained some of its rationality. It quickly retracted its vines and tightened its grip around Old Four. The hundreds of vines continued to extend, turning into thousands and tens of thousands of roots. The roots pierced into the great emperor's body, and the essence and blood flowed into the main body through the vines. "No. Save me." Old Four struggled frantically, and the sword in his hand continuously tore apart the vines. However, this bit of damage only angered the star-twining vine. As long as the main body wasn't destroyed, the vines would only cause superficial injuries to the star-twining vine. Boom. Old Four's physical body was directly torn apart by the vines. His body was instantly bound by the vines, and he was quickly swallowed into the main body. 3 of the 10-odd great emperors were instantly killed. The leader of the great emperors was furious. He roared across the sky. Yi Qinghan, you dare to kill my Shen Kong clan. You will definitely not have a good ending. Yi Qinghan's lips curled up as he watched the ghost slave Tharch smashing another great emperor into the ground. He directly streaked across the sky and took the opportunity to punch the heavily injured great emperor in the back, sending him toward the star-twining vine. The star-twining vine didn't hesitate to swallow them. Every time it swallowed a great emperor, its hunger would decrease by a portion. It was very happy. Just a bunch of ants. How dare you make an enemy out of this Tharch? Today, I will bury all of you. The Tharch was disdainful. He didn't care about Yi Qinghan's cultivation, and started to counterattack the Shen Kong clan's experts. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi looked at each other and nodded. Emperor Yi retreated to the side, plucked the strings of his guqin, and started to help the Shen Kong clan attack the Tharch. Yi Qinghan, on the other hand, was waiting below. As long as a great emperor was smashed down, he would take the opportunity to kill him and send him to the star-twining vine, to feed his god's sacrificial spiritual plants. The old man couldn't understand what they were doing. One was helping the Shen Kong clan, while the other was killing them without hesitation. The moment Emperor Yi joined the Shen Kong clan's battle, the pressure on the Tharch increased. His strength was instantly suppressed by more than half. He also had to use a portion of his strength to suppress his restless blood essence and Emperor Qi. Now that he was losing, he couldn't help but fly into a rage out of humiliation. You are courting death. The Tharch was enraged. His sky-covering hand smashed the sky and charged toward Emperor Yi. Whoosh! Emperor Yi wouldn't fight him head-on. Using Windmark, he was as fast as lightning, taking a detour to the back of the Shen Kong clan. The Shen Kong clan also knew that if Emperor Yi died, they would have no chance of winning against the Tharch. Now they were all using each other. Everyone knew this, so they started to surround and kill the Tharch. Use the God Prohibition domain. The leader of the great emperors roared and formed seals with his palms. The remaining 9 great emperors attacked at the same time, spreading out in 9 directions and forming seals at the same time. They controlled an area and turned the center of the battlefield into a domain. Emperor Yi took the opportunity to attack the Tharch with a sly smile. The ghost slave Tharch was furious. He smashed the void with his fist, but the aftershock didn't spread. The 9 great emperors of the Shen Kong clan sealed the space and turned it into a domain, completely controlling the situation. Kill. Whoosh 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 whoosh. The 9 great emperors attacked the Thearka's domain crazily, not caring about exhausting their origin energy. Roar. The ghost slave Tharch was instantly covered in wounds. He couldn't dodge and could only take the attacks head-on. His flesh was constantly cut by the swords, and blood and flesh splattered everywhere. Within the domain, I am a god. Die. The leader of the great emperors grinned and laughed. His sword broke through time and space, aiming for the ghost slave Thearka's throat. Emperor Ye's zither music stopped abruptly. He stopped suppressing the Tharch and turned to fly to Yi Qinghan's shoulder. He watched coldly as the 2 sides fought each other, ready to reap the benefits. Chapter 468. The shackles in the sky gradually descended, and a terrifying heavenly might descended. Even the great emperors were suppressed. The higher one's cultivation level, the greater the suppression. Gui Nu was a sovereign venerable, and his cultivation level was low. He was unable to use even a fraction of his strength, causing him to be beaten back by the 9 experts of the Divine Space Clan. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi retreated 1,000 miles, taking the star-twining vine with them. At this moment, the star-twining vine was unable to suppress its hunger, and its roots kept piercing into Yi Qinghan's body. Slap. Yi Qinghan did not give it any face. He sent the vine flying with a slap and said coldly, "Bear with it. In a while, these people will all be yours." The star-twining vine's roots wrapped around the space and kept extending deeper. 9 top-notch great emperors and 1 sovereign venerable. Their vitality was vigorous, and each of them could dominate an area. In terms of individual combat strength, if there was no suppression, they could definitely block Yi Qinghan and Emperor Ye's joint attack. Unfortunately, this was the 9 underworlds, and the shackles in the sky were created to restrict great emperors and sovereign venerable. If this was the outside world, a powerful sovereign venerable had the ability to move mountains and seas with a flick of his finger, and a grain of sand could evolve into thousands and fill the sea of stars. Boom, boom, boom. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The 10 cultivators fought until the heavens fell and the earth cracked. They did not hold back at all. In their eyes, as long as they could kill their opponents, Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi were nothing to fear. They could kill them with a snap of their fingers. The old man was very far away from Yi Qinghan, and did not dare to approach the star-twining vine. However, he sent a voice transmission to remind him, Yi Qinghan, the origins of both parties are not simple. You'd better not provoke them. Oh. Yi Qinghan frowned. He could see that this group of great emperors was extremely strong, and they were all dressed in the same way. They should be from the same force, and they were definitely not to be trifled with. As for the other person, he was already a venerable emperor, but he still dared to come to the 5th floor. This meant that the force behind him did not take the masters of the 9th or 10th floor seriously. That group of great emperors came from the Divine Void clan. This clan is abnormally huge and extends from the middle plane of mythology. Even the 9 underworld's overlords have to give them some face. Their souls have reincarnated and entered the 12th level. There are 3 lesser god worshippers. They are the wind god worshippers, the earth god worshippers, and the water god worshippers. Together with the Mu clan and the Ling clan, they are known as the 3 great clans. They control half of the forces from the 12th to the 9th floor. As for the ghost slave venerable emperor, he is a servant of the space lesser god worshipper, the sky god. The sky god's understanding of space is at the peak of perfection. He is almost invincible among the lesser god worshippers. Relying on his huge divinity, his battle prowess is unparalleled. He does not even give face to the Divine Void clan. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath. Now that he could not even defeat a venerable emperor, making an enemy out of a god worshipper was indeed an unwise move. However, it was almost impossible for him to let go of the star-twisting vine. The star-twisting vine had already advanced to the 3rd level. As long as it was full, it would promote its soul to the next level. As long as he could kill these people in front of him, he would definitely be able to advance to the Emperor realm within 3 days. Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi were in perfect harmony. Their souls were connected, and the 2 of them could advance to the Emperor realm at the same time. As long as they advanced to the Emperor realm, the 2 of them would be able to defeat anyone below the Venerable Emperor realm. It would not be difficult for them to stay alive under the Venerable Emperor realm. Below the 9th layer of the underworld, if they could nurture the star-twisting vine to the 4th level, they would be able to enter the 9th layer and obtain a title. The restless soul was about to break through. Yi Qinghan sneered and quietly waited for the 2 of them to suffer. If you want to return early, you have to take the risk. I will not give up on the star-twisting vine. Yi Qinghan said in a low voice. Hiss, hiss, hiss. The star-twisting vine twisted, crushing the space. It wanted nothing more than to charge into the crowd of emperors and slaughter them. However, against so many great emperors, the star-twisting vine could only kill 2 great emperors at most before it was captured. Yi Qinghan suppressed the star-twisting vine, and gave the star-twisting vine the last bit of living soil. The star-twining vine took root in the breathing earth, desperately absorbing energy. It grew faster and faster, reaching a length of 1,000 meters and a height of several hundred meters. However, the amount of energy it required was also increasing. The old man directly left Yi Qinghan's field of vision. The stronger the star-twisting vine was, the more danger Yi Qinghan would be in. He was risking his life. Little Rattan, Master is so good to you. You won't lose your mind, right? Emperor Ye's powerful soul energy rushed into the main body of the star-twisting vine. There was a star core in the main body. Its soul, life force, and power were all stored there. It was like the godhead of a god. The bigger the star core, the stronger it was. I'm so hungry. The star-twining vine was unable to communicate with Yi Qinghan. It could only communicate with Emperor Yi through soul waves. When Emperor Yi saw that the star-twining vine was trying its best to restrain itself, he didn't dare to let his guard down. He hurriedly comforted it. Hold on a little longer. The outcome of their battle will be decided very soon. Their vitality is all yours. When we reach the 6th level, I'll let you have your fill. Boom. The ghost slave Tharch exploded. He shattered the defense with a punch and sent the 9 experts of the Divine Void race flying backward. Their bodies were torn apart, and they fell in all directions. However, his injuries were also very severe. Not even a tenth of his soul was left. Now, Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi moved at the same time. They met the Divine Void race's Tharch with a punch. The Star-Twining Vine was even more straightforward. It directly pierced through his body and absorbed his essence in an instant. The Tharch turned into a pile of bones and fell to the ground. Wung wung wung. The hurried sound of the zither rang out again. It continuously turned into sharp blades that attacked the ghost slave Thearka's soul. It suppressed him and didn't give him a chance to recover from his injuries. Yi Qinghan exploded. He slashed the sky with his saber. The 5 elements turned into 5 true dragons, which then merged into one. They charged out from the void and ruthlessly attacked the ghost slave Tharch. Ant! The ghost slave Tharch shouted angrily. He gathered a 10,000th of his strength and punched at the giant dragon that Yi Qinghan had slashed out. Boom! The giant dragon opened its mouth and swallowed the iron fist. However, the fist directly pierced through the giant dragon's body. It wanted to kill Yi Qinghan's true body. 5 elements Tao body, 9 revolutions heavenly dragon style. Hum, hum, hum. A heavenly dragon pierced through the heavens and the earth. It charged towards the iron chains in the sky and spun continuously. The earth and mountains were uprooted. The whirlpool was like a black hole. No one could escape from its restraints. The 8 Divine Void race's Thearchs who wanted to escape were instantly sent flying. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The Star-Twining Vine stretched out thousands of vines and continuously entangled the 8 Thearchs. 3 of them didn't have time to defend themselves, and were directly swept away by the Star-Twining Vine. They instantly turned into bones and died tragically on the spot. Yi Qinghan, how dare you? Ah! The leader was furious. He struggled frantically, wanting to escape from the 5th level. However, Emperor Yi struck back. A sound blade broke through his defense, causing blood to flow. Swoosh! The Star-Twining Vine was in a frenzy. Its extreme hunger made it go crazy. Its roots pierced into the ground and resisted Yi Qinghan's whirlpool. The vines extended for 10,000 meters and swept towards the remaining 5 Thearchs. The Divine Void race's Thearchs were already severely injured. Now that they were being torn apart by Yi Qinghan's whirlpool, they couldn't escape. Their speed wasn't as fast as the Star-Twining Vine. Another 2 Thearchs were swept up by the vines. Out of the 9 Thearchs, only 3 were left. The ghost slave Tharch was furious. It was as if his legs were rooted to the stars. He wasn't afraid of Yi Qinghan's suction. However, it was difficult for him to launch a powerful counterattack. The surrounding space and the 5 elements were forcefully sealed by Yi Qinghan. The ghost slave Thearka's current combat strength wasn't affected much. Yi Qinghan was only stalling for time. He hoped that the Star-Twining Vine could quickly devour the Divine Void race's Thearchs before eating the ghost slave Tharch. One Tharch contained much more energy than 100 Thearchs. Buzz buzz buzz, buzz. Emperor Yi interfered with the ghost slave Tharch from afar. He didn't want to clash head-on with the ghost slave Tharch. The ghost slave Tharch was anxious. He struggled frantically, trying to leave the battlefield. Yi Qinghan, I have no enmity with you. I just want to exchange for the Star-Twining Vine. If you dare to kill me, my god won't let you off. The ghost slave Tharch was riddled with injuries and couldn't resist. He could only threaten Yi Qinghan. Your god isn't my god. From the moment you made your move, your fate was sealed. Yi Qinghan's voice came from the whirlpool. It was like rolling thunder, and evil spirits demanding lives. It sent chills down everyone's spines. Boom. The ghost slave Tharch gathered some energy again, and smashed it against the whirlpool. However, just as the whirlpool was destroyed, the giant dragon created a second whirlpool. Swoosh. Ah. The sound of the void shattering resounded in everyone's ears. The main vine of the Star-Twining Vine pierced through the void and penetrated the head of the leading Great Emperor. Then hundreds of vines wrapped around the Great Emperor and pierced into his meridians. His blood and vitality were instantly devoured by the star-twining vine. The leader of the great emperors, a hero of a generation, only had time to scream before he died on the spot. The star-twining vine was excited. There were still 2 great emperors left. It was only half full. However, with enough stamina, its speed was faster and its explosive power was stronger. Boom! All the vines covered the sky and swallowed the remaining 2 great emperors. At this moment, Yi Qinghan's giant dragon had entered the whirlpool from the top and went straight to the ground. Roar! With a furious roar, a shockwave rushed toward the great emperors. Even Emperor Yi was swept away. The ghost slave Tharch didn't have much strength left and was forcefully pushed away. The star-twining vine seized the opportunity. Thousands of vines wrapped around the ghost slave Tharch and pierced into his body. Ah ah ah! The ghost slave Tharch screamed and struggled. He tore off a vine with his big hand, but the other vines were still desperately absorbing his vitality. Each vine was equivalent to an emperor weapon. It was extremely difficult to destroy them. Moreover, their recovery speed was insanely fast. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, the star-twining vine extended thousands of vines and wrapped around the void. Some of them coiled around the Thearch's hands, legs, waist, neck, chest. The Thearch's body was covered in golden vines. Even with the star-twining vine's absorption speed, it couldn't devour all of his vitality in a short time. No, I brought food with me from my yin and yang ring. Yi Qinghan, spare my life. The ghost slave Tharch was terrified. He felt the aura of death and struggled madly. However, he had no chance to escape from the star-twining vine's control. Yi Qinghan was cold. There was no need to spare him now. This hatred was destined to start with killing and end with killing. Even if I kill you, the food in your yin and yang ring will still belong to the star-twining vine. Yi Qinghan could feel his strength rising rapidly. His soul spirit was growing stronger. Seeing that he was about to break through to the emperor realm, he smiled and replied hoarsely. Chapter 469. The power of the star-twisting vine was rising, causing Yi Qinghan's soul to rapidly grow stronger. It caused his blood and qi to become restless, constantly pushing him towards the emperor level. Emperor Ye's and Yi Qinghan's souls were connected, and at this moment, they were also propelled to a higher level. An emperor realm master possessed 100 times, or even 1,000 times more life essence than a great emperor. The star-twisting vine sucked for a full hour. The ghost slave sovereign venerable was still able to struggle for a while, but he soon widened his eyes and waited for his death. The old man looked from afar, and could not help but tremble in fear. He watched as Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi ascended at the same time. Their auras were like rainbows, and he thought to himself, these 2 quasi-emperors are comparable to great emperors. When they join forces, they can sweep across the great emperors. If they ascend to the emperor level, they won't have to worry about anything within the 9th layer. No wonder the great powers requested to open the eye of the 9th layer. It seems that Yi Qinghan's goal is not only to be titled, but also to reach the 18th layer of the 9th layer. Beyond the 9 heavens, the white light covered the sky and the earth, dyeing the 9 underworlds. It was no longer pure red, as if it was a paradise on earth. Heavenly dragons were entrenched, colorful phoenixes were soaring. The dragons and phoenixes were intertwined, and the zither was singing in harmony. The vision between heaven and earth stunned the 9 underworlds. The pair of eyes in the deepest part of the 9 underworlds opened again, and the eyes that had remained motionless for 10,000 years finally showed some emotion. This is, when one ascends to the emperor level, there will be a phenomenon of heaven and earth. The 5 elements heavenly dragon and the divine emperor will appear at the same time, and there will be the sound of zither and zither. Are these 2 going to become gods on their own? Is he trying to reverse the yin and yang of the 9 underworlds? Boom! The white light exploded with a bang and rushed against the 18 levels of the 9 underworlds. The white light replaced the red color, and the 9 underworlds was no longer so oppressive. The sea of blood lost its color, and all filth was purified by the precious light. Emperor Ye's fingertips plucked the emperor's zither, and the melodious sound of the zither was like the sound of nature. It turned into rays of light that rushed into the 8 desolations universe, wanting to rush out of the reincarnation cycle. This child has the zither immortal crimson demon physique. Moreover, it wasn't contaminated in the slightest, still pure and innocent. This was an immortal body. She can attain immortality. On the 17th level of the 9 underworlds, the 3 overlords opened their eyes at the same time and stared at Emperor Yi. At this moment, Emperor Yi was sparkling and translucent. Even his clothes were emitting precious light. He was holy and flawless, as if he was the reincarnation of a goddess from the 9 heavens. His white hair fluttered in the wind, causing the blue dome of heaven to move in joy. She knew that Emperor Yi had the zither immortal crimson demon physique, but she could not see through it. A few such physiques had appeared in the past, but they had either died prematurely or gone through countless killings. Their pure hearts had long since been corrupted. They were only lesser gods, and few knew the true monstrousness of this physique. Yi Qinghan did not understand it either. Vision determined everything. Without Chaoyang, it wouldn't be a bad idea to accept these two as my disciples. The Feather Emperor muttered to himself, and decided to change his mind. At this moment, Yi Qinghan's aura was being suppressed by Emperor Yi. The two's auras were increasing and decreasing, forcing the old man to retreat step by step. He did not dare to approach. The star-twining vine let out a satisfied burp. It rolled up the ghost slave emperor's spatial ring and fiddled with it, trying to mobilize the divine medicine inside. However, it could not retrieve it and could only approach Yi Qinghan slowly. However, Yi Qinghan's aura was cold and tyrannical. The heavy berserk blade in his hand seemed like it could split the cycle of reincarnation and slaughter its way out of the 9 underworlds. It did not dare approach and kept probing forward. In the end, it gave up. The magnificent star-twining vine, a divine object that could be promoted to a mid-level god, was intimidated by Yi Qinghan's aura just like that. Rustle. Not daring to approach Yi Qinghan, it waved its vine and looked at Emperor Yi. It could not help but feel delighted and ran towards Emperor Yi. As the vine approached Emperor Yi, the overlord of the 17th floor moved involuntarily and tore through the void to rescue him. However, the star-twining vine did not harm Emperor Yi. Instead, it kept wrapping around his slender legs and wrapped around his entire body. Its roots kept tickling Emperor Yi's long hair like a mischievous child. Emperor Yi opened his eyes slightly and grinned. His smile was so beautiful that it could topple mountains and rivers. Little thing, are you full? Emperor Yi's breakthrough was silent. The anomaly in the sky dissipated, and only a huge 5 elements heavenly dragon was still hovering in the sky. Hiss! The star-twining vine handed the spatial ring to Emperor Yi, and its tender voice sounded again. Open it, I'm hungry. Emperor Yi was speechless. This thing could eat too much. How was he going to raise it in the future? Even if he emptied the boundless plains of existence, he would not be able to raise it. Emperor Yi dripped his blood, and used his divine sense to enter the spatial ring. He could not help but be speechless. The god behind this venerable sovereign was too ferocious. There was actually a large number of low-grade divine herbs in the spatial ring. There were even emperor-level divine herbs that had already proven their Tao, but were forcefully suppressed by the god and returned to their original forms. All kinds of ferocious mutated beasts that had already transformed were unfortunately reduced to food. Emperor Yi's expression was ugly. Feeding divine herbs that had already proven their Tao to the star-twining vine was simply going against the heavenly Tao. What was the difference between this and eating humans? Swish, swish, swish. Emperor Yi casually took out a large number of emperor-level divine herbs. These treasured herbs had yet to transform, and there were also some that had already fainted and transformed into ferocious beasts for the star-twining vine to feast on. There were too many treasures in the Qianquan ring. The Qianquan ring was personally created by the god of the sky. It contained endless space and could store living things. It could even store a huge star. Emperor Yi happily put away the Qianquan ring. This was a supreme treasure. Seeing that Yi Qinghan was still breaking through, Emperor Yi sized up the spatial ring for a while. He took out a glass-like divine flower that had already withered. However, one could not tell how beautiful it was after its revival. There were traces of Tao proving on its body, indicating that it had already transformed. It was just that it was suppressed, but its divinity was still there. Emperor Yi gently plucked the strings of the zither. A high-pitched melody soared into the sky. He wanted to break the restrictive spell on the divine flower and release it. The melody was gentle and rhythmic. Even space and time jumped along with it. The restrictive spell was only used to imprison the divine flower from the outside. It did not have much defense against the outside world. Soon, it was crushed by Emperor Yi. The glass-like purple divine flower bloomed, and the soul inside was revived. Whoosh! There was a flash of divine light, and an extremely beautiful girl about 18 or 19 years old appeared in front of Emperor Yi. Her spiritual aura was oppressive, causing people to drool with desire. However, she had a panicked and helpless expression on her face. For the emperor to be in this state, it could only be said that she was unlucky. She met the god of the sky, that perverted old monster. Wherever his divine sense passed, it would become his domain. He was a god. Even ordinary gods could not survive under his hands, let alone a divine flower that had just proven Tao. Fellow cultivator, thank you for saving my life. The girl looked around and saw Yi Qinghan's domineering and cold aura. She could not help but tremble. She quickly bowed to Emperor Yi. Wow, what a beautiful little sister. Emperor Yi exclaimed. The transformation of a divine flower was indeed different. It was not something that ordinary humans could compare to. They had all absorbed the essence of the full moon yin and yang. Their yin was too strong. Most of them were female. Fellow cultivator, little sister is even prettier. The girl was still in shock. She did not dare to curry favor with Emperor Yi too much for fear of attracting his disgust. Hehe, my name is Emperor Yi. Yi as in Yi, Huang as in emperor. Master gave me this name when I was 12. What's your name, big sister? Emperor Yi was bored, so he took the initiative to chat. This kind of transformation of a divine flower could not arouse his disgust. Moreover, looking at her pitiful appearance, he felt like he was looking at himself when he was young. He could not help but want to dote on her. What a domineering name. The girl looked at Emperor Yi enviously. To have such a strong man to protect her in her life was a lifelong dream. Thinking of her past, she could not help but say sadly, my name is Li Shang. Li as in Li, Chang as in Ni Shang. Emperor Yi looked at the restrained Li Shang and maintained a smile, hoping to make her relax. He said, you can just call me Huang. That's what my master calls me. I'll call you big sister Li. Li Shang turned to look at Yi Qinghan, and then looked at the star-twining vine on Emperor Yi's shoulder. Thinking that these two were the young masters and princesses of some large family, she said respectfully, Miss Huang, can I follow you? I can be your servant. I can do anything. Really anything. For a great emperor to take the initiative to become a servant, it showed how difficult her situation was. In the 9 underworlds, a great emperor like her would either become the servant of a rich family's young master, or have her essence forcefully stolen. Although becoming a servant could save her life, she would also be humiliated. Not only on the soul, but also on the body. Li Shang had always been unwilling and fled everywhere. However, she had overestimated her own strength, and almost became someone's food in the end. Ren Huangyi was speechless. Yi Qinghan and Yi Qinghan had never needed servants. They would do everything by themselves. Moreover, if they used a great emperor as a servant, wouldn't their lifespan be shortened? We're taking the examination for the title. I'm afraid it will be dangerous for you to follow us. Emperor Yi said awkwardly. The examination for the title was usually done by the first disciples of large families or sects who had reached the 8th level and above. Li Shang looked at Emperor Yi with envy. At this moment, she was even more determined to stay. She knelt down respectfully and begged, I'm not afraid of dying in battle. Fellow Taoist, please let me stay. I can fight for you. I just want a place to stay. Emperor Yi was soft-hearted. How could he let a great emperor kneel and beg in front of him? He quickly helped Li Shang up and said gently, then come with us. It's actually not that dangerous. We don't need you to fight for us. I'll discuss it with my master later. He's very easy to talk to. Emperor Yi was definitely the only one who dared to say that the battle for the title was not dangerous. The heroes were speechless. With Yi Qinghan fighting for them, Emperor Yi would only intervene when necessary. Such a title might be very easy for them. At this moment, Yi Qinghan's soul spirit rose and his senses became stronger. Gradually he could sense the endless plains. He could even sense his own physical body. If he could prove his Tao, it was not impossible for him to fight his way out of reincarnation. Boom! Yi Qinghan's mind roared. He woke up from his epiphany. His 10 fingers reached into the sky. His understanding of the 5 elements had reached a new level. His combat power had increased by more than 10 times. He grabbed at the void and a green leaf appeared between his fingers. With a flip of his hand, the leaf pierced through the iron chains in the sky and shot out of the 9 heavens. The heavenly Tao roared and shocked everyone. The moment Yi Qinghan broke through, the spirit-devouring godly eagle and the rainbow snake's bodies moved and rushed into Yi Qinghan's body. The godly bird pulled the rainbow snake's soul into the cycle of reincarnation. Chapter 470. The river of stars flowed, and the path of reincarnation was endless. Why did you drag me into reincarnation? Master still has a chance to live. The snake roared, itching to slap the divine bird to death. Of course it's for you to protect this divine bird. This divine bird has entered reincarnation. Do you want me to personally charge into battle with a group of evil spirits? The divine bird dragged the snake and charged forward. Why did we enter reincarnation? What if we can't go back? The snake gritted its teeth, unwilling to give up. Can't go back? With this divine bird here, how can we not go back? The divine bird looked at the snake's resentful expression with disdain and quickly comforted it. I can feel Master's aura. And I can also feel that there's something I like beside him. Although I don't know what it is, I'll know when I see it. When we find Master, I guarantee that you'll benefit greatly. Whoosh! The 2 souls clamored in the reincarnation, and the snake cursed incessantly. Yi Qinghan awoke from his epiphany. His understanding of the great path had deepened, especially the 5 elements' origin profound. He had reached the great completion realm, and his combat power was soaring. He glanced at Li Shang and frowned. Li Shang took a step back and bowed respectfully. Greetings, young master. I'm Li Shang. Emperor Yi looked at Yi Qinghan expectantly and said softly, Master, she's a divine flower and was captured by the god of sky to be food for the star-twisting vine. I couldn't bear to let her go, so I let her go. Why don't we let her follow us? You decide. Yi Qinghan shrugged. He had never been calculative with Emperor Yi. Li Shang was happy and grateful to Emperor Yi, but she was also jealous of Emperor Yi. She was also a woman, but the difference was too great. At this time, the old man came back from the rear. When he saw that Yi Qinghan had temporarily taken control of the star-twisting vine, he couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. However, he knew that this star-twisting vine would be a disaster sooner or later. It wasn't just the star-twisting vine. There were so many powerful sects that wanted to steal it. One day, Yi Qinghan would lead them to eternal damnation. The first 5 levels are all about strength. Now that your strength is clear for all to see, there is no need to test anything. The next level will test your luck and opportunity. Enter the 6th level, the main city area, and obtain the opportunity that you should obtain. Then, you will be considered to have passed the test, said the old man. What opportunity? Yi Qinghan asked curiously. The secrets of heaven cannot be revealed. Otherwise, how can it be called an opportunity? The old man shook his head and waved the golden divine mirror in his hand again, sweeping everyone away and rushing to the 6th level. The 1st level was the 9 underworld Sea of Blood. As soon as they entered the Sea of Blood, the multicolored snake seemed to have gone mad. It crazily devoured the essence of the blood. Evil spirits wanted to take lives, but they were not as fast as the snake. No matter how strong the spirit was, it could not be devoured in an instant. No one knew that a 9th-rank multicolored snake had come to the 9 underworlds. Once it reached the 9th rank, it would prove its Tao. An 8th-rank multicolored snake could succeed in a sneak attack on a great emperor. Moreover, it was the famous Tianwu Great Emperor from the Endless Plains. Its strength was obvious. Once it reached the 9th rank, who knew how powerful it would be? The multicolored snake's growth was too fast, and its devouring speed was also increasing. When evil spirits appeared, they were all devoured. Its speed of catching food was not inferior to that of the star-twisting vine. The divine bird laughed loudly, lying on the back of the multicolored snake. It was too lazy to even fly. Quick, go deeper. Is the trash here worth devouring? With Big Brother here, I will take you to sweep the 9 underworlds. All the treasures in the world will belong to us 2 brothers. The parrot looked up at the sky and saw that the iron chains were almost above its head. Its eyes flickered as it pondered the use of these iron chains. The multicolored snake had no doubts about the divine bird's treasure-seeking methods. It carried the parrot and soared into the sky, passing by the powerful ghost spirits. It was so fast that even the Een soldiers could not detect them. When the multicolored snake and the parrot appeared in the 9 underworlds, Yi Qinghan's brows twitched. He said in surprise, "The divine bird and the multicolored snake have also come in." Emperor Yi curled his lips and snorted. Nothing good ever comes out of that lowly bird's appearance. Emperor Yi and the spirit-devouring godly eagle had always been on bad terms. When they met, it would be strange if they did not fight. It would be strange if they did not have good expressions. The 6th level was countless times larger than the 5th level. There were countless cities, sects, and factions. Every city was overseen by a venerable sovereign and a great emperor. Each level was a plane, a huge parallel space that was much larger than the endless planes. The endless universe was like the tip of an iceberg. In such a huge continent, the number of experts was immeasurable. Many divine medicines reached the emperor level, but could not prove their Tao. Those that could prove their Tao were extremely intelligent. The 3 of them walked slowly on the 6th level. Li Shang was very restrained. She was afraid that if she said something wrong, she would anger Yi Qinghan or Emperor Yi. Yi Qinghan didn't say anything either. He simply walked through the endless mountain forest, comprehending the grand Tao laws here. The wood elemental profundity could allow him to communicate with almost all spiritual plant life forms, but it couldn't communicate with the star-twisting vine. A large number of green vines suddenly wrapped around them, covering the sky. The star-entangling vine exploded with golden light and a superior aura. Countless vines automatically retreated, not daring to resist. Emperor Yi was entangled by the star-entangling vine. The onlookers were frightened. If the star-entangling vine was angered, Emperor Yi would not have a chance to resist. The 3 overlords in the depths frowned. They wanted to subdue Emperor Yi and not let her take any more risks. However, they also wanted her to gain some experience in front of them. In the end, they did not make a move. Looking for opportunities? Yi Qinghan frowned. What exactly was an opportunity? He and Emperor Yi were both going through the level at the same time. This meant that they had to obtain 2 great opportunities to pass, and they had to be real opportunities. Just now that old man said that it was in the main city. This means that the so-called opportunity should be in the city and not in the outside world. Yi Qinghan muttered. He was not in a hurry to enter the city. Instead, he led Emperor Yi into the Sea of Flowers forest to search for spiritual herbs and rare treasures. On one hand, it was to stabilize his cultivation level. On the other hand, he had to prepare food for the star-entangling vine. On the other hand, he had to wait for the divine bird. After wandering in the outside world for a full 3 months, Yi Qinghan found many powerful spiritual herbs. He killed countless ferocious beasts and evil spirits and fed them all to the star-entangling vine. The star-entangling vine was very satisfied with the feeling of being taken care of. Ever since it followed Yi Qinghan, it did not have to worry about going hungry. It tried to please Emperor Yi even more, but it ignored Yi Qinghan. In these 3 months, Li Chang finally let go of the worries in her heart. She was no longer so afraid of Yi Qinghan. She was like a sister to Emperor Yi. Young master, I'm a divine glaze flower. I'm most compatible with the Tao of nature. Would you like to experience the Tao of nature? It's very similar to the wood element, but it can communicate with all things. Even if it's a spiritless weed. As long as I'm on the 6th level, I can quickly obtain all the information I want. Li Chang said as if she was presenting a treasure. Yi Qinghan was shocked. This was much more impressive than the intelligence system. How many weeds were there in the world? Who would be wary of a weed? Not even the gods. All right, let me experience what the Tao of nature is like, Yi Qinghan asked curiously. Li Chang danced gracefully in the air, transforming into a beautiful divine flower that spiraled in the air. Divinity soared into the sky, and the 6th level suddenly became lively. The flowers, grass, and trees all seemed to have come alive. Everything seemed to have spirituality, and as long as it was a creature of nature, especially the weak ones, it seemed to be able to speak. They chattered incessantly, telling their own stories and things that happened nearby. The divine flower bloomed in 4, controlling the 4 directions. Many people had never seen a divine glaze flower before. This flower rarely appeared in the world. It was indescribably beautiful and enchanting, making people involuntarily approach it. The star-entangling vine looked at the divine flower that Li Chang had turned into. Its vines involuntarily approached, wanting to swallow her, but it was slapped back by Emperor Yi. Yi Qinghan felt the joy between heaven and earth. The green bird flew over his head, talking about the shocking things it had seen. The grass swayed, talking about everything it had experienced over the countless years of reincarnation. Each person had their own story, and even the grass had its own experience. One flower, one world. Yi Qinghan fell into an epiphany. Then, Emperor Yi also fell into an epiphany. However, he held the star-entangling vine in his hand, preventing it from hurting Li Chang. Time passed slowly. After an unknown period of time, the divine bird was full of excitement. The colorful snake had swallowed countless spiritual herbs and evolved to the 9th grade. It was almost like a heavenly dragon, soaring through the 9 heavens. The great emperor did not dare to stop them. The 2 divine beasts rushed to the 6th level. Whoosh! On the 6th level, a divine light cut through time and space. The divine bird cheered. 9 underworlds, welcome your great divine emperor. The devourer condor spread its white wings and stood on the colorful snake's head, laughing loudly. Once they entered the 6th level of the 9 underworlds, the devourer condor and the colorful snake were broadcasted to the 18th level. That's the devourer condor? The devourer condor's reputation spread far and wide. Anyone who saw it would tremble. This thing was too cunning and too smart. It was invincible in the world and could even fool its master. It was on the same level as the star-entangling vine, but even more terrifying. After all, the star-entangling vine could be defended against by others. However, the devourer condor was impossible to defend against. Isn't this thing a companion of the star-entangling vine? Since the star-entangling vine has appeared, it's not strange for it to appear as well. However, we have to be careful in the future. Don't believe a single punctuation mark of its words. Everyone said coldly. On the 17th level, the 3 overlords squinted their eyes and stared at the devourer condor and the colorful snake. Their fingertips twitched involuntarily as a smile appeared on their faces. Interesting. The star-entangling vine has appeared, and so has the devourer condor. I wonder what it will be like when they meet. On the 10th level, the god of sky, Song Long, revealed a strange smile as he waited for Yi Qinghan to bring the 2 divine beasts to the 10th level. On the 18th level, that pair of eyes opened again. There was a strange expression in his eyes, but he quickly closed them again. Worldly items no longer had any attraction to him. Soon enough, the devourer condor and the colorful snake rushed to Yi Qinghan's side. The divine bird flew to Yi Qinghan's shoulder with a wretched and flattering expression. He grinned and said, "Master, I was worried that you would be in danger. I brought the colorful snake to protect you." Chapter 471. The spirit-devouring godly eagle's fawning expression was seen by countless people, and they couldn't help but shiver. When this thing was acting wretched, nothing good would come out of it. Emperor Yi curled his lips and mocked. "You brought it here to protect you, right?" The divine bird rolled its eyes and scolded angrily. "You little woman, I can see you even if you don't speak." "Eh? Isn't that the star-twisting vine on your shoulder?" The divine bird was stunned, but it quickly glared at the star-twisting vine with disdain. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The star-twisting vine suddenly stretched out a few vines to wrap around the divine bird, but it didn't use any strength. The vines comforted the divine bird, as if it was trying to curry favor with the spirit-devouring godly eagle. Yi Qinghan was surprised that the star-twisting vine would treat a creature full of spirituality like this, instead of eating it. Get lost! The spirit-devouring godly eagle waved its claws and kicked the star-twisting vine, scolding, "Don't bother me. I don't need your protection now." The star-twisting vine awkwardly retracted its vines, not daring to come closer. "What's going on?" Yi Qinghan asked curiously. "This thing is my companion. It's a glutton, and I can search for treasures in the world. Without this divine bird, it will starve to death. Although my clan's spirit-devouring godly eagle is very strong, it doesn't like to fight, so I rely on this perverted creature to protect me. That's why it's trying to curry favor with me," the divine bird boasted shamelessly. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The star-twisting vine kept nodding. Although it didn't agree with some of the divine bird's words, such as the spirit-devouring godly eagle's clan's combat strength being weak, it still nodded in agreement in order to curry favor with the divine bird. "Now that I have a master and a little snake to protect me, why would I need it to fight with me for food?" The divine bird wanted to burn the bridge after crossing it. It didn't want Yi Qinghan to have the star-twisting vine. So it said, "Master, this thing's appetite is too big. Throw it away, or else it'll slow down your cultivation speed." The star-twisting vine was furious. Its vines danced and tore the void apart. It hated it, but it didn't dare to offend the divine bird. Hiss hiss, the colorful snake coiled around Yi Qinghan's waist, constantly communicating with Yi Qinghan. When the divine bird heard this, it was instantly enraged and roared, "Little snake, what the hell did you say? You lost this divine bird? Don't forget how you evolved to the 9th stage. It was this divine bird that helped you find the divine medicine. You're burning the bridge after crossing the river, and biting the hand that feeds you." Yi Qinghan helplessly said, all right. No one will be left behind. Come with me to the main city. Let's look for my sons and my destiny." He brought all the divine beasts and divine medicines with him, and Emperor Yi to the main city. "Master, what opportunity are you looking for? Tell the divine bird, and the divine bird will find you in no time." The divine bird said arrogantly, "I still don't know what I'm looking for." Yi Qinghan said with a shrug, "Then I'll find all the treasures on the 6th floor, and take them all." The divine bird was incomparably arrogant. Now that it had that glutton, the star-twisting vine, the multicolored snake, and Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi had become emperor ranked. Who could stop them? Emperor Yi. Yi Qinghan was speechless. There were so many venerable sovereigns in the city. Which major force didn't have at least a few venerable sovereigns? Taking them by force? Was that called destiny? In front of them was a large city with a long history. It had experienced countless years, and was full of vicissitudes. This city was called Star River City, and it was controlled by the Star River clan. They relied on the power of the Star River, and their soul perception was abnormally strong. They could easily use the power of the stars to destroy the world. The Star Master could deal with venerable sovereigns when he was a great emperor. There were many Star River clan experts coming and going outside the city. They wore robes decorated with stars and looked very powerful. Xinghe Tian was a young great emperor of the Star River clan. On the day of his birth, the Star River surged and the sky map appeared. He started cultivating at the age of 3, became an emperor to be in 100 years, and proved his Tao in 500 years. He was known as the most talented person in the Star River clan. He was now 2,000 years old, and had fought in the first 7 floors. Currently, there were no more than 3 people who could fight against him. At this moment, he already knew that Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi had arrived in the titled battle. He opened his eyes, which were like stars, filled with the power of the Star River. They were vast and boundless, and people would be lost in a glance. The laws of heaven and earth accompanied him, and the stars swayed, changing their trajectories according to his will. He was so powerful that ordinary venerable sovereigns would feel ashamed. "Young master, those 2 have entered the city. Do you want to take them down a notch?" A thin and boneless old man in a shriveled robe asked in a hoarse voice. "How's their combat strength? Is it worth it for me to take action?" Xinghe Tian asked lazily. His voice was gentle, as if he was bathing in the Star River. It made people feel lazy and unable to muster up any strength. This old servant went to the intelligence system for a few days. They are indeed very powerful. Not only did they subdue the star-twisting vine, but they also have a long-extinct spirit-devouring divine eagle with them. Master, you can take all of their Tao fruits. At that time, it may not be impossible for you to become a disciple of a powerful expert, the old man said respectfully. Star-twisting vine, spirit-devouring divine eagle? Interesting. These two creatures never talk about morality and only talk about strength. They are easy to subdue. Since they have piqued my interest, I will take them. Xinghatu Tian said lazily. Yi Qinghan had just entered the city when the spirit-devouring divine eagle twitched its nose and said excitedly, "This place is simply tailor-made for me. There are so many spiritual treasures, and there are even stellar heavenly spirit stones. Master, this may be your opportunity." Stellar heavenly spirit stones are divine stones that have been bathed in the power of the stars for countless years. They are incomparably hard and are filled with endless spiritual energy. If your divine sense is strong enough, you can even sense divine sense and comprehend the mysteries of the universe. Yi Qinghan's eyebrows twitched. He knew that the divine bird must be talking about something with an owner. What he was looking for was something without an owner, or a supreme treasure that was being sold by someone else. Forget it. The target this time is a titled expert. It's not good to clash with others, Yi Qinghan said indifferently. The three of them brought the three divine beasts and spiritual plants into the depths of the city. Most of the ghostly spirits were at the realm of boundary emperors. They lived at the bottom and relied on treasure hunting to survive and cultivate. Most of the spiritual herbs they obtained were of no use to them. They would sell them to some rich young masters or great emperors in exchange for spiritual pills that were suitable for them. Li Shang was full of spirituality and could discover many spiritual herbs. She was so kind that she wanted to buy the spiritual herbs she liked and use them to nurture them into true great emperors so that they could prove their Tao. Unfortunately, she was embarrassingly short of money, so she had no choice but to look at Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan was interested in cultivating some great emperors, especially spiritual herbs. Even if they could not prove their Tao, they could use them to refine medicine. If they did prove their Tao, he could let them cultivate with the geniuses of the insane sect and women who had proved their Tao with spiritual herbs. Their cultivation would improve by leaps and bounds. When the time came, he could lead them to prove their Tao and kill their way into the middle plane. What is the currency here? Yi Qinghan asked curiously. Young master, the 9 underworlds also uses spiritual crystals. However, they only recognize high-grade and supreme-grade spiritual crystals. There are very few spiritual crystals in the 9 underworlds, but experts of any level can use them. Therefore, they are very valuable. Li Shang quickly said. Yi Qinghan sensed his Qianquan ring and took out all the high-grade and supreme-grade spiritual crystals. There were a total of 30 million high-grade spiritual crystals. There were only a few supreme-grade spiritual crystals. Young master, this spiritual herb is called purple leaf grass. It blossoms every 30,000 years and bears seeds every 30,000 years. It only evolves once every 10,000 years. Look at this purple leaf grass. It has evolved 8 times. This means that it is close to 500,000 years old. Li Shang squatted in front of a stall and picked up a purple leaf grass. She carefully released her spiritual energy to help the spiritual herb heal. It was as if she could feel its pain and her heart ached. Fairy, you have good eyesight. You must be the fairy of 100 flowers, the colored glass spiritual herb. Now that you have proven your Tao, you need to plant spiritual herbs. This purple leaf grass is definitely suitable for you. It will definitely prove its Tao within 10,000 years. Unfortunately, I don't have that much time to wait. Otherwise, I wouldn't be willing to sell it. A burly man was excited. Although this purple leaf grass was valuable, it wasn't very useful if one didn't prove their Tao. He didn't have the energy to cultivate it, so he could only sell it. This kind of spiritual herb was usually bought by young masters. They bought it and cultivated it at home. Once they proved their Tao, it would be equivalent to having a powerful furnace. They could forcefully steal the yin energy of the spiritual herb. Only a few spiritual herbs proved their Tao. Sir, how many spiritual crystals are you willing to sell this purple leaf grass for? Li Shang asked. The burly man looked at Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. He thought that Li Shang was only their servant, and that they were the real tycoons of the aristocratic families. Therefore he asked for an exorbitant price. 3 million high-grade spiritual crystals, no bargaining. Was your brain kicked by a donkey? Idiot. A peak 8th grade purple leaf grass. It's still 10,000 years before you can prove your Tao. If you want 3 million high-grade spiritual crystals, you can keep it for yourself. After 10,000 years you'll have another furnace. The divine bird scolded and mocked the burly man. Stupid bird. What nonsense are you talking about? You should know that once this purple leaf grass proves its Tao, it can increase a peak great emperor's chances of breaking through to the emperor realm by 30%. It's worth it to spend 3 million high-grade spiritual crystals. The burly man's face turned red as he tried to quibble. 10,000 years. I'll be able to break through to the emperor realm in 10,000 years, let alone master. You can keep it for yourself. The spirit-devouring godly eagle said disdainfully. Yi Qinghan turned to leave. The burly man panicked and hurriedly said, Young master, don't be in such a hurry. The price is negotiable. The divine bird immediately said, 100,000 high-grade spiritual crystals. You can sell it or not. You can sell it to young master. Young master has no interest in spending 10,000 years to cultivate a furnace. Moreover, you didn't even protect this purple leaf grass. It's a problem whether you can keep it alive or not. In this divine bird's opinion, it won't live past today. If you don't want to sell it, just throw it away. The price was lowered to the lowest. Normally, a peak 8th grade spiritual herb could be sold for 200,000 to 300,000 high-grade spiritual crystals in the 9 underworlds. If it had already proved its Tao, like Li Shang, it could be auctioned off for 3 to 5 million spiritual crystals. Young master would probably break his head trying to get it. The burly man's face turned purple as he looked at the purple leaf grass in Li Shang's hand. It was indeed withered. He didn't know how to cultivate spiritual herbs. It was pure luck that he could find such a herb. He thought that he could earn 700,000 to 800,000 high-grade spiritual crystals, but it seemed that he was dreaming. The divine bird was too knowledgeable, and the price was too low. Chapter 472. The divine bird bought a purple leaf grass that was about to prove its Tao with 100,000 upper spiritual crystals, and threw it to Li Shang. It said proudly, Little girl, help me take care of it. This is a slave that I bought. If she proves her Tao and is beautiful, I don't mind taking her. Li Shang smiled bitterly. Is this bird really a bird? Why is it more cunning than a human? Moreover, it had a high status with Yi Qinghan. It did not know how to reply and could only stare at Yi Qinghan. Ignore it. Yi Qinghan shook his head. This bird can't even transform, and it's still thinking about women. He wanted to cultivate the empress, but that was for the sect of ecstasy, not for a bird. The divine bird did not mind, and continued to stand on Yi Qinghan's shoulder. It scanned the streets and found many precious herbs. Most of them were grade 7 or grade 8, but there were a few that were below grade 7. Yi Qinghan began to sweep through the goods. They were all grade 8 and above. Those that could prove Tao were given to Li Shang for her to grow. Those that could not prove Tao were given to Emperor Yi to prepare food for the star-entangling vine. At this moment, the star-entangling vine was curled into a ball with its roots wrapped around Emperor Yi's shoulder. It was not worried about falling off at all. The divine bird was jealous. This fellow was obviously competing with it for attention. Emperor Yi opened up a separate space in his Qianquan ring for Li Shang to grow the divine herbs. He also took some living soil from the star-entangling vine. The divine herbs quickly healed and grew well. It might not even take 3,000 to 5,000 years to prove Tao. On one street, Yi Qinghan bought more than 10 divine herbs that could prove one's Tao, spending 3 million spirit crystals. In this place, spirit crystals were not treated as money. Any divine herb that could prove one's Tao would cost more than 100,000 high-grade spirit crystals. Just as Yi Qinghan, Emperor Yi, and the other two walked out of the city and were about to leave, an ice-cold voice alarmed the entire street. It was like an evil spirit demanding lives, causing people to tremble in fear. You're Yi Qinghan? Yi Qinghan was quite famous in the Abyss Serenity. After all, not many people could make the intelligence system turn on the Abyss Eye to broadcast the titled battle. Yi Qinghan turned his head and looked at a skinny young man. He was dressed in the attire of the Shen Kong race, and had a golden Buddhist Vajra ring on his wrist. He exuded the might of the great Tao, and had a very powerful aura. He should have been filled with the divine light of the Buddhist Dharma, but he always gave off a gloomy and cold feeling. How annoying. My master is busy. If you have nothing to do, scram to the side, the divine bird said impatiently. Yi Qinghan frowned. There was no need to ask to know that this fellow was from the Shen Kong race. He nodded and said, "It's me. I am the divine void cliff. Come out with me. Don't even think about escaping. You can't escape from my grasp." Shen Kongyao looked at Yi Qinghan coldly. His eyes were filled with determination and he couldn't go against him. He then turned around and left. He was so cold that one couldn't accept it. At this moment, in the residence of the Xinghe race, a scout rushed to Xinghe Tu Tian's side yard. Xinghe Tu Tian happened to step out of the side yard. Seeing the anxious look on the scout's face, he immediately asked, "What happened?" "Young master, Yi Qinghan was met by the Shen Kong race. He is now heading out of the city," the scout quickly replied. Xinghe Tu Tian frowned and asked with a hoarse voice, "They actually came to the 6th level to kidnap people. They are getting more and more arrogant. They don't put the Xinghe race in their eyes at all. Who is it this time?" "Young master, it's the Divine Void Cliff who is said to be able to get many titles within the next 100 years. The scout said. It's him again. I was just about to look for him. I want to see if I will get a title first or if he will." Xinghe Tu Tian snorted coldly. He flicked his sleeves and stepped out of the city. His aura swept up the heavenly river, and a star river phantom appeared behind him. It kept circling and could be activated at any time. It could cover the sky and crush countless living beings. Outside the city, countless ghost heroes were discussing. Many people felt sorry for Yi Qinghan. The Divine Void Cliff's title was already set in stone. Now that they had found Yi Qinghan, it was equivalent to cutting off Yi Qinghan's path. The Divine Void Cliff was on the 12th level. The younger generation of the Shen Kong race had decent combat strength. After all, they were from a wealthy clan on the 12th level. Any random elite from them would be able to sweep through an area. The Divine Void Cliff wasn't considered the most elite of the Shen Kong race. After the 12th level, they couldn't survive any further, and could only come to the first few levels to be arrogant. Relying on their clan, they were arrogant and despotic. They were very famous on the 7th, 8th and 94th levels, suppressing the other young experts until they couldn't breathe. There were very few who dared to fight with them. The Vajra ring in his hand was the weapon of a supreme Buddha. It contained the profound meaning of Buddhism, and was just a little bit away from becoming a divine sacrificial soldier. It was extremely powerful and was definitely the best item to suppress ghost spirits. At this moment, Yi Qinghan's lips curled up as he discussed with the divine bird. "Master, snatch the Vajra ring from this guy. This is a Buddhist treasure. With it, anyone under the Great Emperor realm can be suppressed." The divine bird secretly transmitted a message to Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan nodded. It was a waste for such a divine treasure to be left in the hands of the Divine Void Cliff. Along the way out of the city, Yi Qinghan followed the Divine Void Cliff to a lone mountain 300 miles away from the city. Many experts followed along, wanting to see the battle situation. This saved them a lot of trouble compared to going to the intelligence system, who would pay a large amount of spirit crystals to watch the live broadcast of the Eye of 9 Underworlds. "Kid, hand over the star-twisting vine to me and kill yourself here. I can spare the 2 women beside you. However, I can spare their lives, but they still have to bear the punishment. I'll punish them to be my slaves for 3,000 years. The Divine Void Cliff said coldly. "PFFF, the divine bird laughed and mocked. "Is there something wrong with this guy's head? It's probably because he didn't have enough to eat when he was young, so there's something wrong with his head. Normal people like us shouldn't bicker with him." Emperor Yi sighed. He had seen people who deserved a beating in his life, but he had never seen someone who wanted to die so badly. Hiss, hiss, hiss. The multicolored snake actually laughed, although it was a very ugly and disgusting smile. Pfff. Li Shang covered her mouth and laughed secretly, but she didn't dare to laugh too obviously. She was naturally timid and didn't dare to offend important people, especially young masters with such noble statuses. Yi Qinghan was cold and didn't say a word. Saying this was equivalent to stepping into the gates of hell. Everyone was shocked. Yi Qinghan and the others were too arrogant. They actually didn't give the divine void cliff any face. Master, forget it. Bickering with a fool will make us lose face. Let him off. After all, this divine bird is the future emperor of the divine beasts. My status is revered, and my name will be passed down for generations. Bickering with him will only leave a thick stain on my reputation. The divine bird sighed. It looked at the divine void cliff as if it was looking at a fool. Kikik. Emperor Yi and Li Shang couldn't bear it anymore. The divine bird was good at everything, but it had a foul mouth that could anger people to death. Moreover, it didn't care who it was angered to. Sometimes, even Yi Qinghan would be angered half to death by it. Everyone outside wanted to laugh but didn't dare to. They endured the pain, and their facial muscles started to twitch. The divine void cliff was ridiculed, and his face turned purple. He felt disgusted as if he had eaten half a kilogram of flies, especially after being ridiculed by the divine bird. He really wanted to smash the lowly bird in front of him with a palm. Good, good, good. You are the first people who dare to speak to me like this in thousands of years. I will make you suffer a fate worse than death. The divine void cliff roared furiously. Yi Qinghan stepped forward. Although he couldn't bicker with a fool like this, he didn't mind giving the star-entangling vine something to eat. Hua! The Buddhist treasure Vajra halo surged with Buddhist light, covering the sky and earth. It scared the ghost might into running away. The divine void cliff formed seals with both hands, and the Vajra halo actually transformed and kept on growing bigger. It directly wrapped around Yi Qinghan's arms and legs and kept on contracting, pressing down on Yi Qinghan until he couldn't move. Die! The divine void cliff exploded, and a fist pierced through the void, ruthlessly smashing toward Yi Qinghan's head. Yi Qinghan was as still as a mountain as he watched the divine void cliff smashing toward him. Wang Emperor Ye's thumb pressed down on the divine zither, and a soul-shattering high note surged out from the zither of the human emperor. It directly smashed onto the Buddhist treasure, cutting off the connection between the divine treasure and the divine void cliff. With a wave of her jade-like hand, the Buddhist treasure actually appeared in her hand. It was so fast that the divine void cliff couldn't react in time. However, the fist had already reached Yi Qinghan's head. He was stunned for a moment, only to see the veins all over Yi Qinghan's body popping out. His dragon blood boiled, and the force of the blow caused his muscles to change shape. Boom! The iron fist was like a hot knife through butter, ruthlessly smashing into the divine void cliff's chest. Pooh! The divine void cliff's soul directly exploded from this punch. His back bulged, and his eyeballs almost popped out. He didn't even spit out a breath, but he spat out essence blood. His remnant body was like a kite with a broken string, sent flying. Before he could fly far, he was wrapped up by the star-twining vine. Xinghe Tu Tian, who was speeding over, stumbled and almost fell from the sky. His face was pale, and his body was trembling. It was as if Yi Qinghan's punch had landed on his chest. He found it hard to breathe, and the star river map behind him scattered in fright. Yi Qinghan turned around and stared coldly at Xinghe Tu Tian. Looking at the dissipating star river map, the corner of his lips curled up. Another annoying fellow. However, this star river map isn't bad. What a pity, the divine bird said regretfully. Xinghe Tu Tian felt a chill run down his spine. Yi Qinghan and Ren Huangyi had joined forces, and their coordination was flawless. He was a top-notch master of his generation, yet he had been killed in an instant. His combat ability was about the same as Divine Void Cliff's. If Ren Huangyi were to make a surprise attack, he would also be killed in an instant. Emperor Ye's expression was calm, as if he had done something not worth mentioning. It was that simple to snatch someone's divine treasure. At this moment, he was playing with the Vajra ring, dripping blood to bind it to its owner, and constantly changing it. He was even more familiar with this than the divine void cliff. You also want to snatch the star-twining vine? Yi Qinghan asked with a sly smile. Gulp, Xinghe Tu Tian swallowed a mouthful of saliva and quickly shook his head. No. No. Only Yi Qinghan could raise the star-twining vine. Even if the entire Xinghe race's foundation was added up, it wouldn't be enough to feed the star-twining vine. How could Xinghe Tu Tian have the heart to snatch the star-twining vine? Then, are you here to send me off? Yi Qinghan asked with a smile. Yes. Yes. I heard that Brother Yi, who is taking the examination for the title, has come to my Xinghe city. I'm here to see you two off. Xinghe Tu Tian was very serious as he said this. The divine bird rolled its eyes. This guy's ability to change the rudder according to the wind was no less than its own. His attitude changed so quickly, and he said it so seriously that it couldn't tell if he was telling the truth or not. Chapter 473. Outside Star River City, Xinghe Tu Tian's face was pale as he watched Yi Qinghan and the others leave, his whole body trembling. Yi Qinghan left Star River City with the two top-grade goddesses, heading straight for the main city. In the huge sixth layer, cities like Star River City were like stars in the sky. There was one every million miles, and each city had its own power. The news of Yi Qinghan killing Divine Void Cliff in one move and shocking Xinghe Tu Tian, until he didn't dare to speak, spread throughout the sixth layer, allowing him to have a smooth journey. Even the disciples of powerful families and powerful sects took the initiative to greet him, offering him some divine medicine as a greeting gift. They just wanted to be at ease and didn't want to provoke this fiend. Yi Qinghan accepted all of them without hesitation. After all, the star-twisting vine needed food, and what others gave was far from enough, but he still paid a large amount of spirit crystals. He bought almost 100 stalks of divine medicine that were about to prove his Tao and gave them all to Li Shang. After wandering around the sixth layer for a month, they didn't find any opportunities, but they used up all the spirit crystals they had. There wasn't even a single top-grade spirit crystal left. Along the way, the city lord came out to greet and send them off. The divine bird enjoyed the process, but when it saw that the spirit crystals had been used up, it couldn't help but feel dejected. It didn't have the slightest interest in treasure hunting. Finally, they arrived at the outer city near the center of the sixth layer. The sects and families here were all extremely powerful. Some of the powerful sects ignored Yi Qinghan and the others. Even if they did, they only sent a servant to deliver some trash. What is this? Are you trying to get rid of a beggar? The parrot was furious. It couldn't stand this kind of cold treatment. Yi Qinghan was speechless. The parrot was used to taking things for granted. If people were willing to give it face, then they were giving it face. If they weren't willing to give it, then they didn't owe it anything. Yet it was actually angry. Heavenly Ocean City was vast, majestic, and magnificent. This was the sphere of influence of the Yuan family in the sixth layer. There were more than 10 emperors in the family, and 2 peak emperors. They had always been strong and aloof. Yi Qinghan and the others walked over. A powerful ghost slave was standing at the city gate. He was a great emperor realm cultivator, and was dressed in the Yuan clan's servant uniform. It was easy to recognize him. At this moment he was holding his head high, as if he wanted to raise it to the sky. When he saw Yi Qinghan, he said in a sharp voice, "Yi Qinghan, this old man is the captain of Haitian City's city guard team. The surname given to me by the Yuan clan is Yuan Qi. This old man is here on behalf of the young master to tell you to go to Xiaoxi's courtyard and pay him a visit." Yi Qinghan was probably used to people coming out to greet and send him off, so he couldn't help but feel a little angry at the sudden appearance of such a strange person. The Yuan clan's Yuan Xiaoxi was one of the top 3 masters in the sixth layer. He was also one of the few existences who could defeat Xinghe Tu Tian. Yi Qinghan had naturally gathered a lot of information about the sixth layer along the way, so he immediately knew who this Yuan Qi was. "Are you sure this is how your young master told you to pass on the message?" Yi Qinghan was a little surprised. Anyone who could reach the top 3 in the sixth layer was definitely not an idiot. Even if he was strong, he wouldn't treat them so rudely. "Then how do you want to pass on the message? A palanquin with 8 carriers carrying you into the city? Is it because your confidence has been inflated some time ago and you've become complacent? Yuan Qi said disdainfully. My young master is holding a treasure gambling competition in his courtyard. The top 5 masters of the 6th layer, the 4 ghost fairies, the top 10 richest people of the 6th layer, and the king of the gambling world will all be there. You'd better find an inn and change your clothes before you come here. Don't be so travel-worn and spoil the fun. At this time, let alone the divine bird, even Emperor Yi was very unhappy. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed coldly. Treasure gambling competition? Yi Qinghan didn't understand the customs of the 9 underworlds, but he had a general idea. He just didn't know the rules and methods of gambling. Young lord, the treasure gambling competition is a game that some disciples of powerful sects like to play. It's considered gambling, but this kind of gambling is too barbaric. Winning or losing is worth tens of millions of spirit crystals. Some people even lose their life divine weapons. It's said that the most outrageous gambling competition was on the 9th layer, hosted by Lord Feather Emperor himself. A peak stage Emperor Realm Master lost his entire fortune and had to sell his body to pay off the debt. Li Shang ran over to Yi Qinghan and whispered in his ear. What kind of gambling is it? Yi Qinghan asked curiously. It's divided into 2 types. The first type is stone gambling. There's a type of stone in the 9 underworlds called the 9 underworlds divine stone. Most of them are useless stones, but some divine stones have sealed divine beasts, primal chaos treasures, evil ghosts, and other treasures from countless years ago. There are also some divine stones that contain endless energy that can push an Emperor Realm Master to the level of a God Priest. Even without a godhead, they can still be compared to a God Priest, but they're too rare. These 9 underworlds divine stones are abundant in the land of reincarnation of the 9 underworlds, and are mined by powerful beings in the depths of the 9 underworlds. Some stones are especially good, and are kept by those powerful beings. Most of them are sold by those powerful beings at extremely high prices. However, there are times when powerful beings make a mistake and many precious divine stones are leaked to the outside world. What's the other type of gambling? Yi Qinghan asked. There's another type of gambling that extends from stone gambling. They bet on who can buy the most valuable divine stone, and who will win all the bets. Sometimes, the dealer loses everything, but there are also dealers who make a crazy profit, Li Shang replied. This is the fastest way to make money, but of course, it's also the fastest way to lose money. A good divine stone can be auctioned for tens of thousands of top-grade spirit crystals, but in the end, nothing will be gained. On the other hand, some ordinary divine stones can be mined for a few thousand top-grade spirit crystals, which can be worth millions of top-grade spirit crystals. Li Shang reminded. Before Yi Qinghan could say anything, the divine bird arrogantly transmitted its voice. Master, let's go. With me, the god of gamblers, here, I can beat anyone who comes, not even their underpants. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed as he hoarsely transmitted his voice. Can you feel what's inside the divine stone? Don't lose my underpants. I can't, but I can rely on my 6th sense. Whichever divine bird thinks is good will be good. After all, those divine stones are wrapped in a layer of something that isn't energy. It can block out all the divine stones of the strong. Otherwise, why would the Almighty rely on selling these things to make a fortune? The divine bird shook its wings and said, Relying on luck? Yi Qinghan shrugged and walked into the city. When he passed by Yuan Qi, he coldly said, Lead the way. Yuan Qi sneered and didn't argue with Yi Qinghan. Perhaps he was afraid that Yi Qinghan would fly into a rage, so he led Yi Qinghan and the others to the center of the city. They sped all the way and soon arrived at the famous Xiaoxi's residence on the 6th floor. It was a waste to call it a separate residence. It was even more luxurious than a city lord's residence. Moreover, it seemed connected to the Yuan family's residence, but it was actually separated. The Xiaoxi residence. A plaque was engraved outside the residence. It was said that this plaque was written and engraved by a venerable emperor, who was almost as powerful as the Almighty. The residence was very large, tens of thousands of feet in radius. It was majestic and filled with divine qi. Divine flowers bloomed all around. Many of them were close to attaining Tao. It was obvious how luxurious Yuan Xiaoxi's life was. As soon as Yi Qinghan and the others stepped into the residence, they heard a voice. Ha ha ha, so it's Brother Yi. Please forgive me for not coming out to meet you. A handsome figure dressed in a white robe appeared. He was elegant and had an extraordinary temperament. He looked to be about 27 or 28 years old, and gave off a feminine feeling. There was a 5-colored divine dragon carved on his left shoulder, and the word Shaoxi embroidered on his right shoulder. His identity was obvious. He was Yuan Shaoxi. He looked polite, but from the moment Yi Qinghan and the others entered the residence, his eyes had never left Emperor Yi and Li Shang. His eyes were full of greed, and his purpose was self-evident. Humph, idiot! The divine bird said rudely. Ahem. Yuan Shaoxi coughed twice and ignored Yi Qinghan. He walked towards Emperor Yi and Li Shang and performed a standard aristocratic bow. He pretended to be dignified and said, I am Yuan Shaoxi. I have long heard of Fairy's beautiful name. It is said that Fairy is as beautiful as a goddess. Now that I have met you, the rumors are true, but it is difficult to describe Fairy's beauty. Emperor Ye's mouth twitched and he clenched his fist. He really wanted to use his fist to punch Yuan Shaoxi's face. He wanted to see if his fist or his face was harder. Pa! Emperor Yi did not make a move, but the star-twining vine on his shoulder suddenly twitched. It cracked the void and slashed across Yuan Shaoxi's face. Yuan Shaoxi was shocked and hurriedly dodged. He dodged the star-twining vine's attack, but he did not manage to dodge the force of the attack. A bloody vine mark appeared on his pale face, and he immediately became angry out of humiliation. Yi Qinghan smiled disdainfully and pretended to be serious. He said, So it is fellow Taoist Shaoxi of the Yuan clan. I have long heard of your name. I am sorry, but my spirit pet's life is to attack whenever it sees food. It is a creature without a soul. I believe fellow Taoists will not bother with it, right? Yuan Shaoxi's face twitched and he quickly healed the wound on his face. His heart was burning with anger, but he had no reason to explode. He could only swallow his anger. I was too rude. Fellow Taoists, please enter the inner courtyard. All the heroes are waiting. Yuan Shaoxi suffered a loss and pretended to be happy. He took the lead and walked into the inner courtyard. When he turned around, his eyes flashed with a murderous light. When Yi Qinghan and the others entered the inner courtyard, they found that the courtyard was a few hundred feet in radius. There were several corridors intersecting with each other. There were rockery and lotus ponds everywhere. The corridors were filled with powerful and wealthy cultivators. Most of them were famous cultivators on the 6th floor. There were also 4 beautiful women who were in the Great Emperor realm. They were surrounded by the heroes. 3 of them enjoyed the feeling of being flattered, but one of them was cold and unapproachable. With a glance, Yi Qinghan had a rough idea of what was going on. Many people were also looking at them. Some of the godly tycoons stared at Emperor Yi and Li Shang with unconcealable greed in their eyes. Let me introduce them to everyone. They are the examinees who fought their way up from the 2nd level this year. I'm sure everyone has heard of Yi Qinghan and Yi Huanghuang. Today, I'm here to give Shaoxi face and participate in the stone gambling competition. Everyone, please don't look down on Brother Ye's wealth. If he can't afford to lose, then I'll pay for all their bets. Yuan Shaoxi was proud and his eyes were filled with mockery. He had blocked Yi Qinghan's path to death. He had no choice but to gamble. Chapter 474. Everyone looked at Yi Qinghan and Yuan Shaoxi with a strange smile. Many of them were top cultivators of the younger generation on the 6th level. Hua Chengkong, who was ranked first, was among them. The second was Lai Yan from the Lai family. Yi Qinghan looked around and found that some of the young cultivators were even stronger than Yuan Shaoxi. However, he did not know if they were stronger than Hua Chengkong or Lai Yan. He would have to fight to find out. They are not from the 6th level. They might be from the 7th or 8th level. I wonder if they are here for me or just for the bet. Yi Qinghan mumbled to himself. He could not tell if the bet was for treasures or something else. Since everyone is here, let's begin. Come, get the 9 Serenity Stones. Yuan Shaoxi clapped his hands proudly. Hundreds of 9 Serenity Stones were pushed out from the back. They were covered with a strange material that could block all divine senses. The power of the 9 serenities was attached to the stones. Anyone who got close to the stones would feel a burning sensation. If one wanted to bet on stones, one must have keen observation skills and a strong fate. Skills and fate played a 50% role. No one could cheat. Is this the fate that the old man talked about? Yi Qinghan moved his finger slightly. He looked at Emperor Yi and realized that she could not use her divine senses to check the stones. He was going to rely on fate and the divine bird. Brother Yi, you are a guest. You go first. If you don't have money, I can lend you some, Yuan Shaoxi said with a strange smile. Yi Qinghan looked at the prices on the stones. It seemed that the real 9 serenities stones were at the back. He nodded and said, I don't have many spiritual stones. Brother Shaoxi, why don't you lend me some? If I lose, I can pay you back with divine medicine. Haha. Everyone laughed with disdain. As a competitor, he did not even have tens of thousands of top-grade spiritual crystals. How could someone like him be given a title? Come, give 10 top-grade spiritual crystals to Brother Yi. Yuan Shaoxi said calmly. Soon, a ghost slave gave him 10 pieces of supreme spiritual crystals, which were worth 100,000 upper spiritual crystals. The real rich and powerful families usually use supreme spiritual crystals instead of upper spiritual crystals. Yi Qinghan took the spirit crystals and walked towards the 9 serenities divine stone. The eyes of the divine bird on Yi Qinghan's shoulder darted around as it kept telling Yi Qinghan to change his location. Every piece of divine stone was priced at 8 to 10 top-quality divine stones. Therefore, there were not many 9 nether divine stones to choose from. There were only a few pieces of junk. Yuan Shaoxi was definitely making things difficult for Yi Qinghan. Everyone was waiting. They were not worried that Yi Qinghan would choose the truly good divine stones ahead of time. Master, take this one, choose this one. The divine bird solemnly pointed at an inconspicuous 9 nether divine stone in front of it. It was not even the size of a fist, so there was no way it could contain any treasures. Yi Qinghan doubted the divine bird's judgment and could not help but say, we only have 10 supreme-grade spirit crystals. Don't play with us. This divine bird will guarantee with my great divine personality that there is definitely a treasure in this stone. If there isn't, you can pawn me off. I will be worth at least 8 to 10 million supreme-grade spirit crystals. The divine bird said proudly. 2 supreme-grade beauties laughed mockingly. It was just a talking parrot. How could it say that it was worth 8 to 10,000 supreme-grade spirit crystals? Only a fool would want to sell it to them. Of course, only those who did not know the trade would think so. If the 3 overlords in the depths were to make a move, they would be willing to exchange tens of millions of supreme-grade spirit crystals for the devouring spirit condor. Yi Qinghan saw how confident the divine bird was. If he did not buy it, it would mean that he was not giving face. Therefore, he simply handed over 10 supreme-grade spirit crystals. He held the fist-sized spirit crystal in his hand and weighed it left and right. He was not confident in his heart. Brother Yi, do you want a professional stone-cutting master to cut it for you, or do you want to do it yourself? Yuan Shaoxi laughed. A stone-cutting master was naturally someone who had reached the pinnacle of stone-cutting skills to obtain this title. Every time they cut a stone, they would need at least 1 supreme-grade spirit stone. Some divine stones even cost up to 1,000 supreme-grade spirit stones. If there was a supreme treasure inside, it could even be divided. It was ridiculously expensive. Yi Qinghan sneered. Asking a stone-cutting master to cut such a fist-sized stone? That person must be rich and free. No need, I will do it myself. Yi Qinghan waved his hand, and a dagger appeared in his hand. He began to carefully remove the stone from the outside. There might be something inside. If it was damaged, its value would be greatly reduced. The divine bird stared nervously at the stone in Yi Qinghan's hand and shouted, "There is a supreme treasure. There is a supreme treasure. There must be a treasure." Yi Qinghan quickly removed the outer layer of stone, leaving behind a glossy raw stone. It was unknown how many tens of thousands of years of history it had, but there were no marks on it. Swish, swish, swish. Yi Qinghan raised his dagger and cut it down. The dagger in his hand could cut through iron like mud, and was as fast as lightning. He was not worried about damaging the supreme treasure inside at all. Everyone's eyes widened. Even if there was a supreme treasure inside, it would be damaged. Whoosh. The raw stone broke, and a treasure light soared into the sky. The entire courtyard instantly quieted down. There was actually something inside the fist-sized 9-nether divine stone. This kind of stone was usually called a waste stone by others. Very few people would buy it. However, after buying it, anything that was cut out would cost more than 10 supreme-grade spirit crystals. Yuan Shaoxi was startled and hurriedly walked forward. He looked expectantly at the stone in Yi Qinghan's hand, hoping that what was cut out would not be a treasure. Yi Qinghan broke the divine stone, and a treasure light fell from the stone. With a wave of his hand, Yi Qinghan caught it in his hand. A warm aura rushed into Yi Qinghan's limbs and bones. His soul instantly sublimated, and his perception became several times stronger. What's that? Everyone was shocked. Yi Qinghan's hand was too fast, and no one knew what was cut out. Yi Qinghan stretched out his hand, and a circular jade pendant appeared in his hand. Half of it was black, the other half was white, and both were in the shape of a fish. Yin-yang jade. Damn. Wow. A piece of yin-yang jade that only appears once every 10,000 years. It can improve one's soul perception, change a woman's appearance, and even reverse yin and yang. It's a treasure that people at the end of their lives love the most. Everyone was shocked. This kind of item was the favorite of soul experts, female cultivators, and people at the end of their lives. It was extremely valuable. Moreover, the jade pendant in Yi Qinghan's hand was clearly a supreme treasure from countless years ago. It had absorbed an unknown amount of yin and yang qi. Its effect was probably even more valuable than some yin-yang jades that appeared in the world. Yuan Shaoxi was stunned. He originally wanted to borrow some top-grade spirit crystals from Yi Qinghan to embarrass him, but he didn't expect Yi Qinghan to actually cut out a treasure. For a moment he didn't know what to do. Wow, young master, you're rich. This kind of yin-yang jade, even the most ordinary kind, can be sold for 100,000 top-grade spirit crystals. Your piece is immeasurable. Li Shang covered her mouth and said in surprise. What a joke. Don't you see who's the one doing it? This divine bird's vision has never been bad. The divine bird exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and secretly said, Damn, luckily I guessed right. Young Master Yi, I wonder if you can sell your jade pendant to me? Please state the price. An enchanting woman walked over and said softly, blinking her charming eyes. That depends on how much you're willing to pay. Yi Qinghan replied indifferently, ignoring the woman's charm. I'm willing to exchange my body for. The enchanting woman moved her body. As one of the 4 great ghost fairies, she was ranked 3rd. Her name was Moon Slave, and she was so flirtatious. Her ability to attract men was naturally not small, and she had many followers. Slut. The icy woman from before snorted disdainfully and looked at Yi Qinghan coldly. Get lost. Emperor Yi walked over and looked at her from top to bottom. He said disdainfully, You want to exchange for a supreme treasure with a piece of trash like you? Even if you want to pay, my master will be considered a hooligan if he takes a second look at you. Poochie, that the icy woman couldn't help but laugh. Seeing Moon Slave lose face, her mood was very good. It seemed she and Moon Slave had accumulated resentment for a long time. Everyone on the 6th floor knew that the second-ranked ice fairy was called Lan Feng. It was a very strange name. In terms of beauty and talent, she was ranked 2nd among the 4 great ghost fairies. She was deeply loved by men, but unfortunately, she was too cold. Moon Slave used her advantage to suppress Lan Feng all day long. The two of them were at loggerheads and had long since found each other displeasing to the eye. You bitch? Moon Slave was furious. Just as she was about to curse, a figure flashed in front of her and her neck was grabbed. Yi Qinghan grabbed her neck and looked down at her. He said hoarsely, If you dare to curse, I'll break your neck. His icy eyes were filled with will and command. It was incomparably cold, scaring Moon Slave so much that her face turned pale. She didn't dare to make a sound. Scram. Yi Qinghan swung his hand and sent Moon Slave flying. Aren't you going too far? You dare to attack Fairy Moon Slave in front of everyone? You clearly don't put us in your eyes. a powerful young man angrily rebuked. Everyone was very dissatisfied, especially Yuan Shaoxi. He couldn't bear to see someone act so domineering. Moreover, he wanted to use this opportunity to express goodwill to Emperor Yi. He hadn't thought that Yi Qinghan would value Emperor Yi so much that he wouldn't even allow others to curse him. He had never seen such a protective person. Yi Qinghan coldly looked at that young man and said, "I don't put you in my eyes." "So what?" That young man was one of Moonslave's followers. Moonslave usually looked down on him, so he wanted to use everyone's strength to curry favor with Moonslave. However, Yi Qinghan didn't give them any face at all, and directly rebuked him until he didn't dare to make a sound. Moonslave's face turned pale as she resentfully glared at Yi Qinghan and Emperor Yi. Then she looked at everyone else. However, she realized that no one dared to be the first to stand up to Yi Qinghan. She couldn't help but be furious. She cursed inwardly. "You dare to say anything when you're in bed, but you don't even dare to fart at a critical moment. What a bunch of cowards." Yuan Shaoxi didn't want Yi Qinghan to continue acting domineering, so he broke the awkwardness and took the initiative to say, "Forget it, let's all take a step back and give me some face. Let's gamble for fun today. Don't force people to buy or sell." "As for Brother Ye's Yin-Yang Jade, if you want to sell it, why don't you give me a price? I'll be happy to buy it." Yi Qinghan didn't know the true price of the Yin-Yang Jade in the ninth underworld. However, if he wanted to continue playing, this jade pendant had to be sold. It would be difficult to sell it at the highest price, but he couldn't sell it at a low price either. He said, "Is there anyone who wants to buy it? Give me a price. I won't bargain for small profits. I can only state the price once. If I'm not satisfied, I don't have the right to state a second price." You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.